Good morning, this is the Eager Beaver Show.
You are listening to a True North Eager Beaver Media Incorporated podcast. True North Eager Beaver podcasts are proudly brought to you by our founding sponsors, the Miss V Mysteries from Corvid Moon Publishing, your source for science fiction, fantasy, and cozy mysteries featuring a broad diversity of characters. PsychicTarot.ca, book your tarot reading and unlock your spiritual journey. And the Pepper Master, hot pepper sauces made from farm-fresh ingredients to thrill your taste buds and expand your mind. Well,
I forgot to turn the camera
good. Well, good morning and hello, kids and cubs, and welcome to season 5 and episode number 600 and I'm stalling for time 57 or 58. I think it might be 58 of the Daily Beaver Morning Show. Yes, 100% Canadian. Today, recording day is Wednesday, May 28th, 2025, and it is a gray day here at the Beaver Lodge, as you can tell by the fact that my camera image is actually normal and I'm not being washed out by the light. I am your host, the Eager Beaver pronouns he, him, hey, Mr. Beaver, hey, and fortunate to say, no wardrobe malfunction today. This is what I had intended to wear yesterday, but given that there isn't any bright sunlight reflecting, I don't look like I'm translucid today. So, yay. Of course, with me, as always, is my good friend, Mr. Grizzly. And once again, the twins, frickin' frack. So, eventually I'm going to run out of duos.
Tom and Jerry.
Tom and Jerry. I don't know if I've got 8 weeks of duos in me. But I'll
Tom and Jerry, then Dino and Jerry. You're out of focus. I don't know what happened there.
Oh, it happens every now and then when I lift something up and then the screen goes weird.
Just go to put your hand over the camera there. Maybe that'll.
Yeah, I just have to click with change the definition for a little bit and then come back to auto, and usually that does the trick.
Oh, okay.
There we go.
Yeah.
All right. Listen, big thank you goes to our podcast funding sponsors, the Pepper Master, the Miss V Mysteries from Corvid Moon Publishing, and PsychicTarot.ca. Got a bit of got a good show for you today, but as expected yesterday, it actually is a normal-ish news day. Big things going on, but a normalish news day. No king, no election, nobody stabbing anybody in the heart, nobody suddenly resigning their seat. It's a normal day. Hallelujah. So I've been waiting for one for a while. Mr. Grizzly, how's your mental health today, sir?
Not too bad. I'm a little tired. Tossed and turned all night. So,
yeah, yours truly
wasn't a great night's sleep. That's normal for me, though. I might get 10 minutes of deep sleep a night, if that. Most of the time, it's light and REM sleep.
I fell asleep on the sofa last night, and my beaver sweetie was kind enough to just let me sleep. Woke up a couple of times because it didn't have like a sheet or anything. Was a little cool at some point, but instead of, again, the value proposition is different now, right? Because before I could just like get up and if I was still groggy, just sort of like reach with my eyes half closed for where the sheet is and grab it. But this involves getting up and then putting the boot on, and then grabbing the crutches, and then making sure I'm awake enough to not trip on something while I'm on the crutches. And so by the time I get back, I'm awake. So I just rolled over and tried to sleep again. Fortunately, it works. It's like you're sitting there like this, and you go, I should get the sheet. I'm a little cool. Nah, not worth it.
Too much work. Yeah, I know what that's like.
Yeah, really. But yeah.
If I got up right now and went to the toilet, I'd fall asleep right away. But I have to get up, and I don't want to get up.
Yes.
And then after about 20 minutes of talking to yourself and turning like, fine, I'll get up. You go to the toilet, you come back, and you fall asleep immediately.
Oh, you're so lucky.
And that's a small example of anxiety.
Yes, exactly.
Right?
Yep.
That's your anxiety talking, saying, no, you're comfortable. I'm not comfortable. I feel an urgent pressure on my bladder.
Yes.
I should get up and use the toilet.
Yes.
No. You don't want to do that because you're comfortable where you are. Now, on a cold winter's night, if it's not really warm in the room you're in, sure. That's, a logical argument, but it was 28 degrees out yesterday.
Yep. If something's pressing on your bladder, you're not getting back to sleep anyway. So you might as well just get up. Learn that one the hard way too. Just try to sleep through it. It's like, no. It's like, when you gotta go, you gotta go. That's it. Right? So wow. Okay, so yesterday, first of all, we'll do our little tidbits and stuff, but no NHL hockey to talk about of yesterday, but today, Stars and Whales.
What are you talking about?
Well, I mean, yes, but not of interest to us.
Florida won.
Not of interest to us.
I was interested in the game. I knew Florida was going to win, and they did. I predicted it. I said, no, they're going to win. And they did. And it was a good game. I watched the whole thing. So tonight's Edmonton's chance to do the same thing and advance to the Stanley Cup final.
Yes, at 8 p.m.
For the second time in as many years. Now, the Florida Panthers are only the 9th team in history to do a three-peat to the Stanley Cup final.
Right.
The first year they lost. The second year they won. This is their third attempt. And I, like I said, you have to lose it before you can win it to know how hard it is to win. Yes. Which is why I think Edmonton is going to win this year.
Okay.
That, and they just seem to be playing with another level of confidence that I've not seen them play with before. So we'll see.
So yes, it was a 5-3 win for the other match going on in playoffs, whatever. But the one of interest to us is taking place tonight, 8 p.m. Eastern time. I'm guessing that's 6 p.m. local time. So get out there and cheer. All right. Also in the Memorial Cup, all the positions for the playoffs have been determined. The Moncton Wildcats got a 6-2 victory against the Rimouski Oceanic, and therefore have earned their spot in the semifinal. So it will be the Moncton Wildcats against the London Knights in the semifinal, and the Medicine Hat Tigers will be awaiting the winner of that match in the final. So 2 more left to go. And of course, the host city, the host team, Rimouski Oceanic, are eliminated from the competition with that loss last night. As well, let's see. We mentioned it a little bit on our podcast, the other day, but not on our main show. But for those of you who follow the Northern Super League, that is definitely underway for the new women's soccer league, and 7 matches played at the most from some of the teams. Nobody really running away with it yet. The team from Montreal and I believe the team from Toronto, if I'm not mistaken, are atop of the standings with 3 wins and 2 losses. But nobody's running away with it. So it seems that the competition is pretty even throughout the league, and that there's going to be some good matches this season. So it'll be interesting to watch. And also, the CFL is in its preseason, and the Canadian Elite Basketball League has started their season as well. So for sports fans, there's a lot going on. Also, if you happen to be a soccer fan, the Canadian women's 20 team, 20 and under team, is playing for the CONCACAF Championship. There are 8 nations involved there, and first matches will start today in that tournament. So we wish our Canadian team good luck there, and hope they get a very good result to see what the next gen of Canadian women's soccer is going to be like. It looks very promising, though. So fingers crossed, and we send all our good cheer.
Indeed.
Yes. Okay, a couple of little tidbits before we get into it. Today is a big day. It's in business news and in Canadian business because it is officially now, the end of an era in Canada. Even though the company hasn't been owned by a Canadian for some time now, the Hudson's Bay Company, the last day is coming. Mr. Grizzly, we have a little bit of video on that from CBC.
Yeah, I'm just queuing it up here and ready to go.
So, big, Hudson Bay, synonymous with, there have been some developments. Canadian Tire bought the intellectual property of the Hudson's Bay Company for about, I think, $30 million. So the things like, for example, the blankets with the 4 color stripes that everybody was buying when the Hudson Bay Company was closing in order to have something of that era. It seems that type of stuff will be recreated and brought into the Canadian Tire brand. So it will survive on a little bit in that sense.
The point blanket is very expensive, very well made, globally legendary, and there's a book about it. I read it a few years back.
Yes.
It's quite fascinating. We'll get to this video clip here.
Hudson Bay stores across the country are closing their doors. As of June 1st, 8,300 employees will be laid off. That's about 89% of the workforce, some with 20 or 30 years of service.
The highlight, our customers, the staff, we'll miss each other. It's a big family. Some of the girls from the Bay downtown here were bridesmaids at my wedding.
Now that the liquidation has run its course, stores will be shutting down. Some employees will be kept on to help sell any in-store items and to shut down the remaining locations. Once the company's distribution centers close on June 15th, an additional 899 employees will be let go.
Some days I think that this is it's ruined it for me, but I love it so much and I love the clients so much. So a lot of the clients do follow us or have said that they will follow us wherever we go. There's that to look forward to.
The employees really made this store for me. They were so attentive. We knew when sales were happening.
I've always been well treated and went out of their way to help when I was looking for something.
In Quebec, Hudson's Bay staff are non-unionized, but Unifor, which represents the workers at stores in Ontario, is calling for urgent reforms to rules regarding insolvency reform and accountability from HBC executives. It says its members are owed tens of thousands of dollars in severance, benefits, and unpaid wages. Some employees are eligible for compensation under the Wage Earner Protection Program, but this year, the maximum amount they can receive is just under $9,000.
It's just atrocious that these companies are taking these workers, some of whom have dedicated decades of their lives to these companies, to basically just kick them to the curb with no severance and virtually no recourse.
The law firm representing workers says compensations will vary between employees and is not guaranteed, leaving many employees wondering what comes next when Canada's oldest company closes.
Well,
yeah, indeed.
Sad, I watched a documentary about the fall of Hudson's Bay Company just a couple of days ago, and the writing was on the wall the minute it was taken over by the current organization.
Yes.
This is not the first time they've done this.
No.
It's what they do.
Yeah, it was sold to
I was going to say they bought this company and they weren't retailers.
No, exactly. A retailer had bought it originally, I think it was like Saks Fifth Avenue and whatnot, and then they got rid of it, and I guess it was sort of like this, again, vulture sort of company, hedge fund or corporate, whatever, that takes stuff, and once it goes there, it's just being hollowed out for parts then.
Basically.
So, some of the floor space of the bay was actually being used near the end to sell inventory that whatever company that was doing the wind down had in store somewhere else that weren't even bay products. So you're walking just like, what the hell? What's this doing here?
I honestly haven't ventured into the bay in I can't remember how long. I used to do the walkthrough to get to the market.
Mm-hmm.
And every now and then, let's go upstairs and take a look in the men's department, because they'd have some good sales and they had some good quality products. But I'd walk up there and I'm like, is there anybody working here?
Right.
And I understand, it's very expensive real estate. It's very expensive to staff a store of that size. I get all of that. But the new owners had bought it with the intent of doing basically what they're doing. And if they tell you otherwise, they're lying.
Yep.
They have a history of this.
Yes. There was no real intent to make a go of it. No. So it's, again, once very sad that the employees are getting the shaft, but isn't that always the case?
Yeah, of course it is.
Everybody has other interests and people that they have to pay first for some reason rather than the people. And they're still showing up to work every day, making sure that they can sell every last thing.
Mm-hmm.
Right? So the company can have the best balance sheet possible before it actually does go under for paying creditors and all that kind of stuff. And it's like, yeah, but you guys get screwed. Thanks for helping us with that. We got nothing for you.
I went through, back when I worked in retail, I went through a bankruptcy back in 1990. And, I'd started on the floor and then I worked my way up to management, and then the company declared bankruptcy and I was like, shit.
Yeah.
Because I had really, I'd gotten to be pretty good at what I was doing and I really liked it and I liked the customers and I was trying to move up in the company, right? And then that was it. So I know what it's like to go through this. I know what these people are feeling. I've been there. And you put your heart and soul into something and they snatch the rug out from underneath your feet. But it's not all doom and gloom. It's not all doom and gloom. Because now hopefully I can say her name correctly. Weihong Yu?
I think so. Yeah, Weihong or Weihong. Yeah.
Signs deal to buy 28 HBC leases. The chairwoman of shopping mall owner and operator Central Walk signed a deal Friday to take over leases in BC, Alberta, and Ontario. So she's going to call it Liu New Bay. Or the New Bay, I guess, with the diamond. You can see that in her logo there.
Yeah.
So, taking over 28 stores, 28 leases in 3 provinces, plans to transform them into modern department stores. I don't know exactly how she's going to go about doing this, but hey.
Apparently, she's a BC-based billionaire who owns 3 shopping malls already in BC, and she's turned them into like full experiences, like with zones for kids to do stuff and food and whatnot. So it's like, remember back in the day where the teens used to just go hang out at the mall? It's like, but now the mall actually has stuff to do other than just sit there and hang out.
Yeah.
She makes it like a full experience in that sense. So apparently, she says that's the new way of doing retailing.
And that's what you have to. You have to, because just hanging out at the mall, which is what we did when we were kids, because we didn't have the internet, smartphones, tablets, none of those things existed.
Right.
So in order for you to grab the attention of a younger person, you need to give them the reason to get out of the house. So, create an experience for them, and I think you'll get the customers.
Exactly. Now, it's unclear whether or not she'll be able to get to use the term New Bay. I think that the diamond also, I think she goes by Diamond Liu.
Ruby Liu.
Ruby Liu. Yeah, sorry, not Diamond. Ruby Liu, of course. No, it's red. So whether or not New Bay, whether there's some copyright or something like that, she'll be able to use that. I don't know. But so far, that does seem to be the plan for her. With regard to the Hudson Bay trademarks that the Canadian Tire hopes to acquire, it goes beyond the name, the coat of arms, and the iconic stripes, according to court documents. This is according to reporting by Tara Deschamps from Global. If the companies get a court approval for the $30 million deal they recently brokered, filings made late Monday show Canadian Tire would own some of the country's oldest logos, its most memorable catchphrases, and nods to parts of the Bay business that are now long gone. Included in a 350-page trove of trademarks are rights to the retailer's original name, the Governor and Company of Adventurers of England trading into Hudson's Bay. That was the original name. When it operated under that name, it was given a coat of arms made up of 4 beavers, 2 elks, and a fox, along with the motto "Pro pellicutum," a Latin phrase meaning roughly "a pelt for a skin."
What?
Okay.
That doesn't sound correct.
I have a feeling that there might be some undertones to that thing that might not be
Yeah. That
Great.
well,
I'm not sure. I just get the feeling, but don't quote me on that. As part of the proposed sale, Canadian Tire will get the rights to the arms along with some more modern vestiges of the 355-year-old brand. For example, the trove includes the rights to Bay Days, quote unquote, the name of the retailer's most famous sales period, along with the trademark for its household good brands Distinctly Home and its apparel brand Hudson North. Also in the mix are trademarks for now defunct household goods retailer Home Outfitters, the Bay's famed luxury business The Room, its Toronto event facility Arcadian Court, and private labels Nordic Fleece, Bullmark Appliances, and Black Brown 1826. I remember the ads for Bullmark Appliances when I was a kid.
Mm.
Yeah. Then there are the taglines. Canadian Tire will own Zeller's, quote, lowest prices the law slogan, as well as shopping is good, more than you came for, everything under the sun. And Pierre's going to love this one, bring it home. I love it. There are so many trademarks like Official Store of Christmas, Christmas Street, and the Official Christmas Book of Gift Ideas, which were likely used to market its holiday window displays and catalogs. Harkening back to its days running department store photo studios are rights to phrases like Canada's cutest baby, the official photographer of growing up, and the official photographer of winning smiles. And rounding out the group are trademarks like First Auto, Bay Optical, Bay Flowers, and Farmer Mart, which alludes to other lines of businesses that the Bay has largely decamped. In addition to trademarks, the assets include web domains and social media user accounts. Most of the website addresses relate to the Bay and parts of its business, but some are broader, such as everyday.ca, mom.ca, and school.com. Okay. There are also mom.ca. That's going to be valuable at some point.
Mom.ca?
Yeah. It was registered.
Well, okay.
Yeah, and everyday.ca. Interesting. There are also some domains linked to Kleinfeld, the upscale wedding gown salon it ran at some stores, as well as Galeria Kaufhof, the German department store the Bay once owned. Another standout is redmittens.ca, presumably a reference to the winter gear that built on the popularity of the Bay's Vancouver 2010 Olympic mittens. I remember those. I had a pair. Finally, it also owns domains like the quote, thebay.sucks and hbc.sucks, which may have been measures the company took to protect its brand.
That's kind of smart, actually.
Canadian Tire has not said what it will do with the trademarks and domains it would acquire in the deal meant to close by July 15th, but the retailer owns 1,700 stores across its banners, which include Sport Check, Party City, Marks, and Pro Hockey Life, as well as its original brand. To win the trademarks, Canadian Tire beat out 16 other people or companies that made offers, including 13 that wanted the Bay's intellectual property, the court documents say. Some bids didn't meet the Bay's requirements. Others were, quote, indistinguishable, causing the company running the sales process to seek and obtain modifications, quote, to improve them where possible. After reviewing the amount being offered, quote, the speed, value, and certainty of the transaction, what would be included or omitted from a deal, and the timing of the offer, Hudson's Bay and its advisors determined Canadian Tire had the most favorable bid. Quote, in addition, the Canadian Tire bid will allow for the company's iconic marks and intellectual property to be utilized by another of Canada's iconic retailers, ensuring that an important part of the company's legacy will continue into the future, said an affidavit from the Bay's new Chief Financial Officer, Michael Culhane. As part of the sale, court documents say Canadian Tire will assume 3 contracts the Bay had. 2 are not described in the filings, but the third relates to Pendleton Woolen Mills, an Oregon-based blanket and clothing maker. A 2009 settlement and trademark licensing agreement entered in the court documents show the 2 companies had a dispute over the use of some multi-stripe and point motifs. In the settlement, Hudson's Bay granted Pendleton a perpetual royalty-free worldwide non-exclusive trademark license. The portion of the documents the Pendleton agreement cropped up are in the let's try that again. The portion of the documents the Pendleton agreement cropped up in are dedicated to outlining how the sale to Canadian Tire will work ahead of a June 3rd court date seeking its approval. Hudson's Bay is also expected to ask that a document describing why it chose Canadian Tire be sealed because it contains commercially sensitive information. The hearing is scheduled 2 days after all 80 Bay stores and 13 under the Saks banners are set to close for good, leaving more than 8,300 workers unemployed. The company is still working out to sell its art, artifacts, and some leases. 12 offers have been received for 39 leases, and the Bay has reached a deal with BC Mall owner Ruby Liu for 28 of the properties. That deal still needs landlord consent and court approval. Interest has also poured in for the 4,400 artifacts and art pieces it owns, including the royal charter that formed the business. Documents say the pieces have been cataloged and government entities, public institutions, and Indigenous stakeholders are being invited to sign non-disclosure agreements to view the virtual database. Hudson's Bay and its advisors are still formulating procedures that will dictate how an auction of those items will run. So, interesting little facts and tidbits in that. But yes, indeed, the end of an era. And of course, like I said, Rubio, the push or the proposal to buy 28, to take over 28 of the leases, of course, does have to meet with court approval there.
Mm-hmm.
So, and it seems that with regard to the leases, the retailer has received 17 bids in the sales process in which its leases, intellectual property, and real estate are up for grabs, and received 12 qualified bids on a total of 39 individual leases, according to a court document. But there were no qualified bids received for 62 of the company's leases, which means Hudson's Bay may need to abandon some of these properties and face charges from landlords for breaking the lease agreements. So it's not over yet.
No, but it's pretty darn
unwinding
close.
stuff is a mess.
Oh yes.
Yeah.
Like I said, I've been honestly, truthfully, I'm surprised they lasted as long as they did.
Mm-hmm.
I'm serious. Every time I'd walk in a store, like I remember a few years ago, I was Christmas shopping, and I happened to be Christmas shopping while I was working because I did a lot of work in retail stores. We'd install high-speed networks and Anyway, so I was working at Place d'Orleans, and I took a lunch break, and I went in to do some shopping, and I walked into the Bay store at Place d'Orleans, and I looked around, and I'm like, why is it 1982 in here? It's like they hadn't done a reno in decades. And I'm like, this is not, and again, couldn't find anybody to get any help. So it's the flip side. It's like sometimes you'll go into a store and 6 people will approach you and you're like, I'm walking out the door. I just got in the store. I want to look around, figure out my bearings. Like, give the person time to breathe first.
Right.
Then you can greet them. But in the Bay, you'd wander around for 20 minutes. It's like, okay, can I find somebody to get some help here?
And it's not just the Bay because they have other brands. I remember when they said Sport Check. I remember not the last time, but the time before, where I went to Sport Check and I was looking for some shoes. I mean, I did get help, but I had to stand around for about 12 to 15 minutes before it happened.
Yeah.
I actually was there, left the store for a little bit, and then came back.
It's a new retail model is have a skeletal to minimal staff, just enough to keep the doors open, basically, because they don't want to pay anybody to do anything. And so, like, people don't want to work anymore. No, people don't want to work for shit wages. That's it. That's all.
Or shitty conditions.
That's that too. Yeah.
Yeah. In other news, Kits and Cubs, we had been following this a little bit. In Alberta, back some time ago, there was a company that was supplying food to daycares. And the food was not properly prepared or stored or refrigerated or something, and a lot of children got sick, so much so that some of them were having conditions that could have very, very severely affected their kidneys. Well, finally, that went to court, and we got a bit of a result, and parents are disappointed.
The company at the center of an E. coli outbreak at daycares across Calgary was handed a $10,000 fine today. This comes about a month after the company entered guilty pleas to bylaw offenses here at the Calgary Court Center. During the September 2023 E. coli outbreak, more than 440 cases of E. coli were identified, mostly in children. Dozens were hospitalized. The most serious cases involved children diagnosed with a condition that can cause lifelong kidney complications. The city said it traced the outbreak to catering company Fueling Minds. The company supplied meals and snacks to its own daycares, Fueling Brains, as well as others. At least 19 Calgary daycares were affected. After the outbreak was declared, health inspection reports revealed a number of concerning violations in the Fueling Minds centralized kitchen. Those included significant evidence of cockroach infestations, unsafe food handling, and a lack of proper equipment for keeping food cold during transportation. Several mothers of children who were hospitalized attended court Tuesday, still emotional, speaking about their sick kids and angry at what they see as systemic failures that led to the outbreak. One mother calling the decision a slap in the face. Many of the families of those sick kids are part of an ongoing proposed class action lawsuit that's currently making its way through the court system. Now, the lawyers for both sides, the city, as well as the company, and even the judge were very careful to separate Fueling Minds' admissions of guilt to the bylaw offense to any connection to the E. coli outbreak.
A $10,000 fine. That's pathetic. We need to start doing what they do in Scandinavia and fine according to revenue streams. Like if you get a speeding ticket in is it Finland? I think Finland. And Norway. It's Finland. You get a speeding ticket in Finland. It's the ticket amount is not just a set $200 or $300 and 5 points or 2 points or whatever. It is, how much money does this a person earn? Okay, so that's a $400,000 speeding ticket. They do that in Finland. That is how you dissuade people from doing illegal things. Like I said, I used to know a fella years ago who would run up $20,000 in parking tickets a year. Yep. And he didn't care. For him, that was what it cost him to park where he wanted to park.
Yeah.
It was not a deterrent to him.
Yep. We have to have two problems. The fines are not geared to income. Number one, our ability to pay. But number two, often when fines are set, they're set, well, when they're set extremely too low, but they're set in the air and the fines are not indexed.
No.
So yeah, when they passed a law back in like 1970 something that if you did something terrible to the environment, you'd be fined like $5,000. Well, if that was not indexed to inflation, if you're still getting fined $5,000 in 2025,
there's no incentive to do the right thing. They'll just continue to do the wrong thing because they know they can get higher profits and a larger return on their illegal investment or whatever the case may be, because they don't care. It's the cost of doing business today.
Exactly. It gets factored in. How much will it cost me to do this or not to do this?
And here's the realistic statement about that, sir. They work that into a balance sheet.
There are people in the back room like this with the visors, the calculators who calculate how much does it cost to do this, not do this, versus how much will it cost if we get sued? What is the likelihood? How much can we fight it? Whatnot? And they say, you know what? It's worth it.
Same thing with recalls on vehicles. You know, it's like how many, if there's X number of fatalities for the same problem on a specific make and model of vehicle, they will look at how much does it cost us to recall versus just let it go and see what happens. Yep. And if they let it go and see what happens, this could result in more deaths and cost us more money in the long term, they'll do the recall. But if it's only going to cost them a few bucks here and there, just let it go.
Yeah.
This is legitimately how these corporations work.
I know. One of my favorite movies as a teenager was a movie called Class Action that had Gene Hackman and Mary Elizabeth Mastrantonio. This was a courtroom drama. And so, one of these whistleblower David and Goliath type cases. Mm-hmm. This, but again, like you made, was suing an auto company specifically in there in this one. And I just, if you haven't seen that movie yet, or if you're like this a good movie that from back when, that's one that's well written, well acted, and you can see. At the time, it came out in 1991, so I was 18. So of course, it's like I'm watching this, and my internal sense of justice is like, oh my god, yeah. When I'm watching that movie, I'm like cheering from the benches, like, go.
and not even understand. We think, oh, this movie is really profound. And it's like, no, it's a Hollywood film. Right. It's going to get your senses riled up and your emotions stirred. But they were doing direct business with one of the companies who probably, they're making this film about, or one of their competitors is helping to finance the film. And it's
like, maybe. But the whole concept of the bean counter, like this, is central to this one. And it's like, and that's, again, 18, still young Dai, is like, wait a minute. They actually hire people to figure out whether or not it's okay to hurt people. Like if it's cost effective to hurt people, it's not just based on right or wrong. Oh my God, people will be hurt. And it's like people are okay with people being hurt. If it turns out, My mind was blown.
Capitalism. It's capitalism. How do I turn a profit? And this comment from Linda. My sister worked for a lawyer for the big three automakers. Her job was to determine the value of human life at different ages and incomes to factor it into the cost of responding to lawsuits for defects.
That's actually a central element of that movie. That's what at 18, it blew my mind. At 52, I would not be surprised anymore, but at 18, it blew my mind, especially 1991.
Yeah, I can understand that. Yeah. I mean, I was, how old was I in 91? 23, 20.
Yeah. But I was like, literally, people 23. Do that?
Yeah. 23. So I'd seen this up to that point, right? So it didn't. Yeah.
My brain couldn't imagine a world where people were so uncaring that they would do that. I was a very naive child.
This one here from PNC Bio. Consider how many retail stores open on statutory holidays and just eat the extra cost. And I had a conversation with a friend of mine about that. She goes, but I really wanted to go shopping then. It's my day off. I go, shouldn't the employees have the right to a statutory holiday to get their day off too? It was because a certain grocer in the central part of Ottawa in Centretown opened on, was it Good Friday? I think it was Good Friday a few years ago. Yeah. And they got heavily, I'm not saying the name of the company, but it's a grocer of a whole new variety of foods. A whole new variety of foods. They opened on Good Friday, and they got themselves fined, but the fine was nothing compared to what they profited off of in that one single day's business.
Exactly.
The fine, it's like, no, it's just the cost of doing business. I'm sure the fine amounted to less than 3 staff members for the day. So they don't care. And my friend, but I wanted to go shopping. I'm like, but aren't they entitled to their statutory holidays? Maybe people want to work. Did you ask them if they wanted to work? Some people go, yeah, I wanted to work because I get double time.
Right.
I get that. Make a few extra bucks. But a lot of people are just, their shift was slotted in and they didn't want to be there. And you know what? It's nice to get a day off once in a while.
Yeah, everybody deserves one. Right? I mean, come on. People work hard. All right. The last little tidbit we have, our good friend, Theo Mudakis. Hitting it out of the park again.
This is a cute one.
I thought.
For those of you listening,
yes,
it's the center block with the Peace Tower in the background, and in the foreground is a orange and white VW microbus or VW van, a hippie rocket, a hippie wagon, you know, the sort of 70s surfer van, hippie rocket, and it says NDP on-site caucus office. Yeah, I thought that was kind of a home run, that one. Yeah.
We shouldn't laugh.
It's funny.
So hard. I'm so sorry.
It's funny though. I mean,
yeah, it's funny. It's
funny as funny does.
I know.
It's funny.
It provoked a chuckle.
I'm gonna grab another coffee. I'll be right back.
All right. So kids and cubs into some of the more unpleasant things, as we have mentioned. It's back, talking about QP. That's not so much the unpleasant thing. Of course, with QP being back, Pierre Poilièvre is also back. Of course, he's on the outside looking in. I'm so petty. Oh my God, it's unreal. So that's kind of interesting, and he was allowed to speak from within the parliament because he keeps on saying, "Well, yeah, I've got my shadow ministers of this and shadow ministers of that." Like, this is, you mean your babysitters and escorts? That's what you mean. But that's okay, girl. You can play. We'll play along. So, one undesirable returning to the House of Commons, even though he can't get in or do anything other than watch from the gallery. And apparently he did not watch from the gallery. Apparently he went to his office and watched from there. And so I don't know if he did his little chat before or as question period was about to end and then rushed for his office to his spots to be able to speak. But he did have a couple things to say that we'll show you later. But also back are two other undesirables, kids and cubs. The first would be COVID. So we'll get back to you, deal with that later on in the show. But the first are wildfires. Sadly, again, out in the prairies, in Manitoba and Saskatchewan, northern Saskatchewan and northern Alberta, there are wildfires that are raging pretty dangerously. Manitoba has declared a province-wide state of emergency. It is the area hardest hit by wildfires at the moment, and in 1 month already greater than the 5-year annual average wildfire burn has taken place in the province of Manitoba already. Premier Wab Kinew said this in the state of emergency, did order some evacuations, and that a significant step, as he calls it, will involve the relocation of about 17,000 people. In northern Saskatchewan, at last count, that was last night when I was watching the news, there were 17 fires burning, 10 of them deemed out of control, and a pretty big one somewhere up in the north of the province. And then in Alberta, most of the province is under a heat warning. Or much of the province, I should say, rather than most, is under a heat warning, and there are things going on there. So we have a little bit of
it was
recap.
26. It was 26 in Yellowknife yesterday.
Yeah, 26 in Yellowknife.
In May. In Yellowknife.
Yeah,
that's not normal. It is not normal. It's not. It really isn't.
No, not at all. So, Mr. Grizzle, we have a little thing from CBC here that will just give you a good overview of what's going on in the region. And for those who are out there, please stay safe and listen to all orders.
In with Cameron McIntosh in Winnipeg. And Cam, tell us more about what's happening in your province.
Well, Ian, this has really changed very dramatically in the last 90 minutes or so. Earlier today, the Premier came out and basically talked about the need for a state of preparedness in the community of the northern city of Flin Flon and some other neighboring communities, telling people to be ready to go on a day or two's notice. Now that is a full-on evacuation order for Flin Flon, so that's about 5,000 people. That video you showed at the top of the show, of those firefighters running away from that fire in northern Saskatchewan, well, that's right on the border. That's Crichton, Saskatchewan, which borders Flin Flon. So that's basically the same fire that we're talking about here. A fire that started off basically in the landfill on the Saskatchewan side that has moved over now, threatening the Manitoba side. The Premier saying earlier today that water bombers tried to knock it out yesterday, but couldn't because there was a civilian drone flying in the area. Very upset about that. Basically says that has exasperated this entire situation. So that's one front of it. All those people in the Flin Flon area now being told to make their way to Winnipeg. Then a little further into Manitoba, more central northern Manitoba, there's Cross Lake and Pimicikamak, one of the largest First Nations communities here in Manitoba. Basically, they've told everyone to get out as well. So in total, it's about 17,000 people. The Premier saying that this is going to be one of the largest evacuations in modern Manitoba history. He's contacted the Prime Minister, who has pledged federal resources, including the Royal Canadian Air Force. Now, the 435 Transport and Rescue Wing is based here in Winnipeg. It has a fleet of Hercules aircrafts. We're expecting to see those planes, if they don't start flying tonight, they'll definitely be flying in the morning to do these airlifts. Here now is more from the Premier of Manitoba, Wab Kinew.
Local leaders in several northern communities, both in cities like Flin Flon, but also in First Nations, have made the call that their folks need to leave their homes so that we can keep you safe. And as a result, in order to step up and to be that coordinating force so that people can get out safely, we've called on the federal government to send the Canadian Armed Forces. They are doing so. And we as the province are going to set up places for everyone to stay.
And that's all being done through a provincial state of emergency. So that state of emergency, Ian, it allows the province to call on the resources of the federal government, like the Canadian Armed Forces, but it also allows the province to go into a community like Winnipeg here and use our convention center or an indoor soccer field or an indoor hockey rink and basically take them over and set up shelters. That's what the Premier says is going to happen over the course of the next few days. The priority, getting those people out of those communities as quickly as possible here into southern Manitoba, predominantly the Winnipeg area.
I'm going to come back and ask you about that in just a moment, Cam, but let me first direct you towards the evacuation orders in northern Saskatchewan and Alberta. What can you tell us about those?
So, fires breaking out in both those provinces as well. Focus on the main one in Saskatchewan. There's a great big fire north of Prince Albert. It's at 200,000 hectares alone. Basically, two fires merged. Now, 200,000 hectares is about as much as has burned here in Manitoba already this year. Basically, it's caused a lot of damage. It's forced the evacuation of thousands of people from several communities and work sites. We do know that there have been buildings lost and that situation is being monitored very closely as other fires also break out and threaten other portions of Saskatchewan. As for Alberta, about 20 wildfires right now. Much of that province is under heat warning, so conditions that are very amenable to fires breaking out. We know that Swan Hill is about 225 kilometers north of Edmonton. That's about 1,200 people. They've been ordered out of their homes. There are also evacuation notices in the Lake Chippewa area, people basically being told to be ready to go on 1 hour's notice.
All right, and before I let you go, Cam, let's just review the evacuation orders for your province, Manitoba. People of Flin Flon, so I understand that's about 5,000 people living in that community. They have been given clear directions on where to go. Tell us about that.
Yeah, basically they're being told to be out by midnight tonight. The Premier has said, make your way to Winnipeg. So there are a couple ways to do that. One is to go straight south through Brandon and then cut across down the Trans-Canada Highway. There's also a route that takes Manitoba Highway number 6. It's not as great a highway. It's probably going to have a lot of traffic from other people in other northern communities trying to get down here. So basically people are being told to make their way to Winnipeg. The province will sort it out from there. Basically, as shelters are being set up, people can get registered here and then they can basically be assigned to a shelter once it's up and ready. So we're going to see a lot of action here in Manitoba over the course of the next 24 hours, particularly tomorrow morning when we start seeing evacuees start really coming into the community.
Yeah, well, a big enough city, of course, and Premier Canoe mentioned this. Winnipeg is a big enough city that it should be able to, it's going to not be easy, but should be able to absorb all those people coming down. So that's Flin Flon. And the final thing is, for the First Nations communities in that area, the directions about the evacuation were a little bit different.
Yeah, the First Nations can be a little bit trickier because, basically the air infrastructure and the road infrastructure is different. So Pukwitawagamis, Cologne First Nation, it's fly-in this time of year. So the armed forces is going to have to go in there and get people. So that's one of the places you'll probably see the Hercules aircraft operating. Also into Pimichikamak and Cross Lake. They're basically two communities side by side to each other. There is infrastructure there to land large airplanes. It may be easier for most people, though, to drive out. Either way, they're being told out if they can get themselves out to get out by midnight tonight. So again, you're going to be seeing a lot of people making their way towards Winnipeg here over the course of the next 24 hours, Ian.
Yeah, an urgent situation, as you pointed out right at the beginning, a situation that changed really quickly. But I think it's telling that the evacuation order is, be gone by midnight, so just under 6 hours away. So it gives you a sense that they're hoping for an orderly and certainly not panicked departure from places like Flin Flon. Cam, fantastic job. We're going to stay on the story over the next couple hours while we're live here. Thank you very much for. So yeah, there you go.
Very, very important, kits and cubs, that you do pay attention to evacuation orders if you're in the area or if you know people in the area. So please make sure they get this information. Please don't force our emergency response teams to have to double back to go back and look for you. Please be prepared. If they say be prepared to leave within an hour, have your stuff ready. Yes. Don't wait for the order and then start looking for your stuff, because you will forget something. You will be in a panic and all that kind of stuff.
Have your go bag ready to go.
Exactly. Have your go bag ready to go. Have it packed. Have it by the door. You may not need it, but if you do, pardon?
Your bug out bag.
Your bug out bag. Exactly. So if you are in the area but not under evacuation, but you're close to the area, you can do certain things. You can create a fire resistance zone by clearing vegetation and debris for at least 30 feet around your home. If you're there, please do, as we mentioned, pack an emergency kit, include a 3-day supply of food and water, your medications, your important documents, and extra supplies. Having your documents makes things a whole lot easier should the worst happen and you need to claim things. But so do have them. If you have more than one possible evacuation route, know at least 2 routes and where you will go if you are evacuated. In some communities, that's not possible. Do communicate with authorities, sign up for emergency alerts, and listen to local media. Protect your home, close your doors and windows, cover your vents, and turn on lights for visibility. Learn about evacuation procedures, know your community's emergency plan and evacuation zones. If you're caught in a wildfire on foot, stay calm, seek out clear areas, and call for help. And after the fire, check for hotspots, monitor for embers, and be cautious when re-entering your home.
And do not listen to conspiracy theorists.
No.
Because they don't care about you. They just want to get a rise. They're what's the saying from Batman, The Dark Knight? Some men just want to watch the world burn. Well, in this case, that's a literal thing.
Yep.
Listen to your city councilors, your mayor, your premier. Listen to the people who actually, it is their job to protect you. When a firefighter says run, do it.
Indeed. And again, for those who are listening or those who have loved ones in the area, remember that there is something called CBC Light, which is a low bandwidth option, cbc.ca /light, LITE. And if you go there, I'll give you an idea here of what it looks like, kits and cubs, just so you can see. It's this type of interface, right?
Yeah, very
no
basic.
edges, just very, very basic.
Yeah.
So if you happen to be away, low bandwidth, not a lot of battery, but you still need to, before you can charge, but you still need to keep up to date and get your alerts and whatnot. CBC Light, very, very important service. So do make sure that you have that kits and cubs. And I will try to include a link here in the chat for you. Mr. Grizzly, do you have anything else on this?
Not really pressing, other than be prepared and listen to the people whose job it is to keep you safe. Because if you go on face page, or I'm not going to specifically say, but if you go on a social media page and you're hearing somebody, no, don't listen to these people, they're lying to you, it's the WEF and no, just no. It's their job to keep you safe. Period. Listen to them. Oh, they're just going to come in and do... No. Their job is to keep you safe. That's it. Listen to these folks. They know what they're talking about. They know what they're doing. And especially in Manitoba, where Wab Kinew actually does care about you. He's, I think, the only premier... Well, I shouldn't say he is the only premier, but I think he may be the only premier in the country who actually takes his job very seriously and is there to represent every Manitoban and there to protect them. He's the premier that everybody else should look to and say, well, that's how it's done. I'm not joking when I say that. That's who you look to and go, oh, that's how you do it. Okay. Okay. Yes. That's what we should be following. That is the example. This is leadership.
Yep.
That's the man you want to follow into battle.
Indeed. So please do take care of yourselves, and again, get all the information to your loved ones if you're not sure that they were able to get it themselves. And yes, Susan Holt as well.
Thank you, Saucy. How ignorant of me to completely forget about my relative. We're
really
related. We're distant. We're distant relatives. My
I
mother
didn't
was
know
telling
that.
me that. Yeah, we're distant relatives. I don't know, like third cousins or something like that. But yeah, we're actually related. So I'd love to be able to get her back on the show and let her know that.
Yeah.
But it'd be great to have her back on the show, because we were, really talking about how we really hope she gets elected prior to even the election being called.
Yep.
Because we recognized in her that she is somebody who really, again, and thank you, Saucy, for reminding me of that, really wants to put the citizens of the province of New Brunswick first. And she's put her money where her mouth is. And I'd say her overall approval rating is pretty high right now. I think her and Wob are probably the highest in the country.
Yeah.
Correct me if I'm wrong.
Yeah, I would say so. Probably.
She's she's a caring premier. She's a caring human being. She's a compassionate, caring human being who wants to make life better for everybody. Period.
Indeed.
Period. And this is what we need to see more of in politics. Less of me and more of you. Right?
Right.
And to that, the folks like the former premier of New Brunswick had a budget surplus, which means you didn't do your job. You're supposed to break even. Best case scenario is you break even, you don't run a deficit. If you have a surplus, it means somebody somewhere, many people, are hurting because you're not spending that tax revenue on them. Remember that. It's supposed to break even, not turn a profit. Government cannot be run like a business because it is not a business. It's a democracy.
You got it, my friend.
And
couldn't have said it better.
Democracy.
Yes.
Our friend. I've shared a beer with this gentleman, and I say our friend because we like what he did in Carleton. Oh, I don't know what happened. It just it shrunk on me there. There you go.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Merci, Monsieur le Président.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker, dear colleagues.
To thank the people of Carleton for the confidence they've placed in me. I will never take the honor of representing them for granted. I also wish to thank the hundreds of volunteers who believed that together we could. From Stittsville to Constance Bay, Riverside South to Metcalfe, Greeley to Richmond, and Manotick to Osgood, and all points in between, together we did. Now it's time to embrace every moment in this House and in all of our ridings to build a future in which all Canadians can thrive, in the true North, strong and free.
Mr. Bruce Vanjoy, his first comments in the House of Commons, right before question period starts. There's something called member statements, and the Liberals scheduled the very last one right before question period was to start, and gave that one to Bruce Vanjoy. Of course, a tiny little dig at the mere leader of the Conservative Party of Canada, who had to watch from the outside by mentioning that he would not take the residents of Carleton for granted.
Yeah, that's a little bit of a dig.
Yeah,
good one.
Could tell there was a little bit of nervousness in his voice, though.
Oh, well, yeah, it's the first time he's ever done it, right?
Oh, yeah.
So, of course.
It's among the weight of the occasion, of course. Right? Your first words in the House as an MP, as a new MP, when you're vested with the trust and all the people that sent you there, particular in such a meaningful election. And I'm not talking about the federal one, which was meaningful, but the election in that riding specifically being particularly meaningful. So, and again, a man who has put in the work for years.
Oh, yes.
In order to get there. So, yeah, great thing for Bruce Franjoy to get his moment, and for the party to have given them that almost like a position of honor in that sense, in order to be the last member statement before you're opening up question period in the first question period of a new parliament. That was opened with the speech from the throne by the king with a new prime minister. That's going to be covered. Right? You are going to get, you are going to get media time. So a reward for Mr. Fanjoy for having done such a good job. So there you go, and deserved award as well. So we're at question period, and of course, one of the first things that everybody is wondering is, how's Mark Carney going to do in question period? The cut and thrust of politics. Does he have the stuff? He's not really a politician. His answers are too long. All this kind of stuff. Well, question period did get started yesterday, and we had, of course, Andrew Scheer, who is the interim leader of the opposition, asking the questions for the Conservatives. And interestingly enough, because Andrew Scheer's French is non-existent, Andrew Scheer asked 2 questions, and then the other 2 questions that are given to the leader of opposition went to Pierre Paulus of the Conservative Party. Yes, one of the few MPs from Quebec that has, who could ask the questions in French. And then, of course, then some questions went to the Bloc Québécois leader Yves-François Blanchet, and the Prime Minister stood to answer all of those. And then after that, as is usual procedure, questions not asked by the main opposition leaders then go to the relevant ministers and people who are responsible for the files. So Mr. Carney, I think, took and answered 6 questions, stayed for about 30 to 40 minutes question period, and then went off to do the rest of his day. A lot of people online are saying he stayed for just 2 questions and then he left. No, he actually stayed for 6 and then stayed for about another 20 minutes and whatnot, and then went, because there would be no more questions for him. And of course, yesterday was a Wednesday, and as we mentioned, he is everybody's on TV, as I keep on hearing the news, is breaking with the tradition of.
It's not a tradition.
Not in Canada. In the UK, it is. Here, it's not. It was a practice that Justin Trudeau, and only Justin Trudeau, ever tried,
Yes.
and we're not doing it anymore. So
No,
it's not a
because
tradition. We're going back to the way we actually used to do things before Justin Trudeau started a new practice.
And the practice didn't go as well as one would have thought.
No, because as much as our question period is modeled on that in England, ours is a whole lot less disciplined. And the questions are a whole lot less serious, and often so are the answers.
Evidenced by the fact that the heckling still continues. Can we have a speaker for a day?
Yes, yes.
Let me be speaker for one day, just one day, one session.
And I'm not sure that it's still that same guy in England, but that guy, order.
No, he's
order.
It's not him. He's been replaced.
I loved him.
But that would be me. We will have order. I would be banging the gavel saying, silence, or I will eject everyone. We are adults here. Act like adults. You are not my colleagues. I'm here for one day and one day only. Act like adults. Show respect to one another or leave. This is not a nightclub. This is not a pub. You don't get to heckle each other.
There's a little bit of heckling that was supposed to be there, like a little comment there when somebody's like this.
The way they
usually
scream and yell and rant and rave and act like children in the playground, and children in the playground actually act better because they know how to respect one another. Let me be speaker for just one day.
I'm the one that's being pedantic today, having been like a debater like this. There is a role for heckling. There is room for heckling, but it has to be very sporadic, very short, and for a very, very clear and distinct purpose, like throwing a little jab or countering, like or showing like real, actual offense. Not manufactured fake offense. Oh, boo, shame, or something like that. But like actually, when something's actually shameful, shame. But it's supposed to be limited. That's right. So it's not. It was never intended to be a heckle-free zone.
No.
But it wasn't supposed to be more heckling than speaking.
Let's get to question period.
Oral questions. The honourable leader of the opposition. Mr. Speaker. I would like to welcome the Prime Minister to his first official question period. This is where democracy lives, and this is where we provide rigorous scrutiny on every word he says and every dollar he spends on behalf of Canadians. Now, let's talk about those words and dollars. During the election campaign, it was elbows up as he put retaliatory tariffs on the U.S. Then secretly, he dropped those tariffs to effectively zero. But he didn't stop there. He told Canadians that the government would collect $20 billion in revenue from those tariffs and use it to cost his platform. Now that those tariffs are going to bring in $0, two quick questions. Why wasn't he honest with Canadians during the election? And how's he going to make up the shortfall? Is he going to borrow it, print it, or tax it?
Before we go on, when I heard him say that, I'm like, what is he talking about? Well, apparently he's not lying. He's telling the truth. Nearly zero tariffs as Carney sidesteps trade fallout. This is from Wealth Professional. And it was Canada's rolled back nearly all its retaliatory tariffs on U.S. imports, reducing inflation pressure and lifting its economic forecast, according to Oxford Economics. So that's, Andrew Scheer's being picky and choosy there. It's like, yes. Why did you do that? Maybe it's because reducing inflation pressure and lifting its economic forecast. Oh, that's why. Oh.
The Right Honourable Prime Minister. Mr. Speaker, may I first thank my constituents from Nepean for giving me the honour of being here.
Dig.
And could you also indulge me to say how great it is to see you in the Speaker's chair, and I trust that you're operating under the period of grace that will not be accorded to me. Appropriately, as the Leader of the Opposition just said. Mr. Speaker, our tariffs have maximum impact on the United States, minimum impact on Canada, and we are dedicating all the revenues from those tariffs to supporting the workers and businesses affected by the unjustified American actions.
Hear, hear. The Honourable Leader of the Opposition. Well, he didn't take long to pick up old Liberal habits of not being able to answer questions. But since the election, Canadians have been inundated with grand rhetoric and pretty speeches from this Liberal Party, but they are still suffering under all those policies. Household debt up at record levels. Number of people who can't pay their mortgages increasing. Food bank use continuing to rise. Now TD Bank is forecasting a recession with hundreds of thousands of lost jobs. The PM said undoing the damage of the last 10 years would require great speed, but he's not going to table a budget for 6 months. If he's the man with the plan and the guy you hire in a crisis, why won't he table a budget before he goes on summer vacation?
The Right Honourable Prime Minister. Mr. Speaker, I understand the member of the opposition is very busy. Didn't have a chance to study closely the 100-day plan of the former member from Ottawa, Carleton, which did not include a budget. Our plan includes legislating. Our plan includes legislating for one Canadian economy and nation-building projects immediately to grow this economy, and we expect the support from all in this House.
The Honourable Leader of the Opposition. They must be really afraid to come clean with Canadians if they're going to punt it off into the fall. But, Mr. Speaker, with the throne speech yesterday, Liberals have effectively admitted that it was their policies that caused the suffering for Canadians. Their reckless borrowing and massive deficits caused the inflation. The carbon tax drove up prices and drove away investment. And their anti-development bills chased jobs out of Canada. Now, the Prime Minister's claim...
I'm sorry, I got to stop this for a sec. I can't take this bullshit from him. They borrowed money for... Yeah, it was called a once-in-a-generation pandemic the entire planet experienced.
That doesn't matter to them. Remember, history only starts when they start the needle and they get to omit or add things to history.
I know,
that's
the
way conservatives play the game.
Well, and you have to remember
events and realities.
What Pierre said at the beginning. We don't believe in big government programs. We're going to cut taxes. Okay, if I don't have an income, how does the tax cut benefit me? Mm-hmm. It doesn't. It does not benefit me. So the government came up with the Canadian Emergency Response Benefit, CERB, and Canadian Emergency Wage Supplement, CEWS, which provided 75% wages to companies to pay their employees.
Yep.
They were supposed to top it up by 25%. My company topped it up with 5%. So I was receiving 80% of my wage for almost a year. Money I will never get back. I'll never earn back. So.
And Andrew Scheer's claimed that the speech from the throne was an admission that the Liberals' policies created all that. There was no such admission, just for clarity's sake.
And let's just look at this here. I'm going to blow this up a little bit more so it's easier to read. Prime Minister Mark Carney's government introduced a 6-month exemption covering goods used in manufacturing, processing, food and beverage packaging, and products linked to healthcare, national security, and public safety. Automakers producing in Canada, including General Motors Company, received clearance to import certain vehicles without tariffs. According to Oxford estimates, these carvets reduced the tariff rate increase to nearly zero. Tony Stillo, Oxford's director of Canada Economics, said the government's response was a very strategic approach from a new prime minister to really say we're not going to have a retaliation. He added that it was a deliberate move to not damage the Canadian economy. But old Dimples McGee, it doesn't suit his narrative.
And here's the thing: this is not exactly fully accurate because some reports and posts from mid-May suggested that Canada had effectively suspended almost all of its retaliatory tariffs on U.S. products, leading to an estimated effective tariff rate of almost zero, according to Oxford Economics. The claim was disputed by Canada's finance minister. The minister clarified that the government maintained 25% retaliatory tariffs on tens of billions of dollars in U.S. goods. So Andrew Scheer is trying to make it so that there's no tariffs at all. So how are you going to pay people? There are. Additionally, specific exemptions exist for goods compliant with United States-Mexico-Canada agreement, which that one's reciprocal. The United States is getting that exception as well, which allows certain products to be traded tariff-free, as noted in posts from April early 2025. However, this does not mean all tariffs were reduced to zero across the board, as broader retaliatory tariffs remain in place. The situation is complicated by ongoing trade negotiations and U.S. tariff policies under President Trump, which have included pauses and adjustments, but not a complete elimination of tariffs. So always cross-check such claims, as initial reports can be misleading or incomplete, particularly when delivered by a party that likes to add and omit things, have fun with numbers, and fun with words. So it's not exactly true that we've reduced them to zero. There's the 25% retaliatory tariffs, and they apply on tens of billions.
Correct.
Of goods, and that's the money that is going to be used.
And again, they weren't reduced to zero. It was reduced to near zero.
Yes,
near.
But near zero is still tariffs on tens of billions. I mean, we were talking about tariffs, right, of 25 and 50 and 30%. So even a tariff of 2 or 3% on something brings in a lot of money. So not as much as 10, of course, or 20 or 30, but they're also, we have to, how do I put it, when we're doing stuff, right, there's a lot of people that want to see Mark Carney enter a room and then just slap Donald Trump across the face. That's not a long-term play. That gives us 5 seconds of catharsis at home. Go, yeah, and then the boom falls. So, for example, when we're talking about this Golden Dome thing, for example, a lot of people go, well, I thought you said that we were not going to have deeper integration with the United States. And it's like, we have to have some cooperation where it is necessary.
Correct.
We're not going to make a continental missile defense program with Peru. Or Belgium. They're not on the continent.
Yeah.
We happen to be living on a continent, at least on the contiguous area part, where there are 3 nations, 10 if you include the 7 from Central America.
Correct. Well, Central America is not a continent; it's part of North America.
It's part of North America. That's what I mean. So, because we often think of some people think of North America as just Canada and the U.S., Canada, U.S. and Mexico, and then they forget that there's 7 countries down there. Belize, Panama, whatnot, they're all part of North America too. Right? And all the islands in the Caribbean, all those nations, they're North America as well. Right? So there's like 40-something nations in North America. Yeah, but they're small. A lot of them are small. But on the contiguous continent, we have one neighbor. One. With whom we share a border. We don't have many options. So, there is a certain reality here. And then they're saying, well, oh yeah, like Donald Trump yesterday, Canada wants to be part of this Golden Dome. They're considering it $61 billion. We have to say we're considering it.
Yes.
Right? Because if we go, hell no, we're not going to do that. Well, that starts war. Again, war of words, retaliation. Yes, we'll consider that. Knowing full well that there's absolutely no way in hell that this thing is costing $125 billion alone.
Golden Dome is the Mexican wall.
Yeah. I got, like this, there's something on that that we might have later for that. It could come up to $1 trillion. And as most Trump things, like build that wall and Mexico's going to pay for it, or we're going to ban all Muslims, they tend to fall under their own weight.
Mm-hmm.
So why would we stand up and be the mole that gets whacked by saying, no, we're not going to do this, rather than saying, oh, yes, we'll consider it at a very, very, very high level for now and just wait for it to crumble under its own weight.
On that note, sir, I do have to depart, but just before I go, I wanted to share Michael DeAtter's cartoon and his response, because this is a thing of beauty. So this is his most recent cartoon, and for those of you listening, it has 3 crying babies in a bathtub and the word separatists written on the side of the bathtub in red ink.
Paint, blood?
We don't know. So he posts this, and then here's the best part. If you look over here, he says, Alberta separatists, and underneath, you're a bunch of babies. I don't care about your feelings. I'm like, ooh, Mr. DeAtter going for the throat on that one. Well done, sir.
I'm not sure why separatists in Alberta, if they were under this impression, because I can't say they were, but if they were, why they would think that Canadians would, outside of Alberta, would react more favorably to someone wanting to destroy our country from the inside rather than trying to destroy it from the outside.
Well, and then, of course, you're not going to get our tax money anymore.
Fine.
Okay. Equalization payments. Oh.
Fine. We won't get your tax dollars anymore, and you will get no oil subsidies and money for defense and diplomacy and cleaning up abandoned oil wells and healthcare transfers.
Et cetera, and on and on and on and on and on. And surrender your Canadian passports. You don't get to keep that either.
But it's just that whole sort of like this, so we're going to leave and you're going to see that you're living on us and you'll be sorry. And it's like, yeah, okay, yes, oil and gas is the largest export in terms of dollar amounts.
But it's 2% of our
and
GDP.
The people in Alberta, because of that, like this, have some of the highest salaries in the world, not in the country, sorry. So therefore, they pay a higher level of tax because they're taxed on their salary. They have a privilege of earning the most, but they are not taxed at a higher rate than anyone else in the country. It's the same tax rate for everyone. You just have the luxury of making more.
That's the people.
30% of more is going to be more.
They just don't understand that.
Right.
They're like, well, you'd suffer without us. Well, the country as a whole would suffer because Alberta is a wonderful, beautiful province that I happen to love. I don't want you to separate. I don't.
But economically, we'll be fine.
But to the separatists who think they support the country, 62% of our GDP is between 2 provinces. 2. Alberta, Ontario, and Quebec. 62% of our GDP. Well, then why does Ontario get transfer payments? We pay into that too, you know. It's not just you.
Yeah.
There's people in the Northwest Territories who pay into the same pot. People in have-not provinces pay into the same pot as you do. If you don't need a transfer payment, you don't get it. It doesn't mean we're not generating more revenue. That's not the case at all. Ontario generates more revenue than any other province in the country, and it's based on simple numbers. 16 million people versus 4.8.
Right.
9 million people in Quebec. There's 25 million people between two provinces in a nation of 42 million. Do some simple math. On that note, I do have to go. Thanks everybody for joining. Great to see you all. Hope to see you again later today if I have a chance. I'm working on getting stuff done, but it's going to be a really busy day. I got a lot of things to achieve. Trying to get an ASMR recorded and trying to get my, going to do a live jazz show, stream it, and then of course you can listen to it later. Maybe I can get to it today, maybe not. I'm not sure. I'm going to do my best. But either way, thanks for coming out. Thanks for joining us. And don't forget, on June 14th, is it June 14th?
Yes, June 14th. That's the day.
Saturday, June 14th, the day before Father's Day, is the mental health walk. I will see you soon.
All right. Thank you, sir. All right. So let's keep going. Since we were talking about Mark Carney in the House of Commons, also want to bring your attention, kids and cubs, to just a statement he had to make with regard to the wildfires, and particularly Manitoba. He was posted on his socials here. I've spoken with Premier Wabkanu and offered Canada's full support as his province battles wildfires around Flin Flon. The Premier and I are in close contact, and the federal government stands ready to assist Manitoba's provincial wildfire teams. We're with you, Manitoba. So just wanted to make sure that that was on the record here, that the Premier and the Prime Minister have indeed been in contact with regards to that. Okay. If you were watching some of the political shows, you would have seen that Melissa Lantsman is out there being a spokesperson for the party. She's one of the co-deputy leaders. A lot of word on the tweet that she was none too happy about not being selected as the interim leader. Of course, Pierre did not want someone in the position new, so that people would get any ideas that, hey, maybe it would be a good idea to have a new leader, especially if they're watching one perform, as he doesn't have a seat. So that's why he went with Andrew Scheer, because he was afraid. Basically, it was a fear move. And they did not put the most effective person that they had on the benches. They put the person with a lot of experience in the House. Andrew Scheer has been sitting in the House for 20 years. Another person who's way beyond his best before date and has been rejected by the people, not in his own writing, like Pierre Poilièvre, but at least as Prime Minister material by Canadians. But still there. Can't seem to quit for some reason, even after people said that your time is done. But hey, that's seems to be a conservative trait these days, right? No never means no. It just means try again later. So she was giving an interview, and you can see sometimes the Conservatives are trying on that change. Yeah, there's a lot of journalists already talking. You know, they see Pierre doing some of these interviews, and I do see some things where, he's saying, oh, well, for example, if it's a tax cut, of course we'll vote for it. But then he slides in, even though it's not like a real one, or it's like flimsy, or wouldn't even buy you a cup of coffee or something like that. And a lot of pundits are already taking that and says, well, you could see that he's lowering his tone and being more statesman. But he's not. He's absolutely not. And I have no idea why it is they want to insist on framing it like he is. Because there is no change. There is none. He's got no choice but to be cooperative. He can't stand up and say, we're going to take the government down right away. People just voted not him specifically, right? So that's not going to be an appropriate line. But you have Melissa Lantsman, who's also trying it, who's a little better at it. And when she gave that interview, was the first half of the interview was giving answers that make it seem like, oh, yes, well, they fully intend to be completely reasonable. But as she got pressed in the interview, she swelled up and fell apart. And by the end of it, she was sniping, with the interviewer again. And you could see it. There it is. There it is. There's the bile. So they're trying. Some of them are trying. Some of them are trying better than others, or succeeding better than others for, a short while. But they can't do it. They can't sustain it. It's not going to be a long-term play. And if they're doing it, it's only for appearances and show, because the nasty is just there, right? Yeah, sure, we'll cooperate. I guess on the Prime Minister's doublespeak. Oh, yeah, the tax cut. Yeah, we'll support it. We'll always support a tax cut, even though this one sucks. And I got something on that because Pierre seems to have forgotten something. You will realize in that question period that we showed when Mark Carney pointed out that Andrew Scheer, who got a good one in by saying that the Prime Minister didn't really answer the first question, because he didn't, but of course he was doing the full formalities of thanking people in his first intervention. But well played by Scheer, low blow, but well played. And then when he was coming to talk about the tax cut and the costed budget and all that kind of stuff, Prime Minister Carney pointed out that Andrew Scheer may not have read his own party's costed platform, because the budget that they demand that Mark Carney bring in right away is a budget they didn't intend to bring in themselves. So they're expecting of Mark Carney, once again, something they're not prepared or willing or had no plans to do themselves. Now, again, for some reason, there was a spirited discussion also on power and politics between Michelle Cardio and Kate Harrison, the pundits from the Liberal Party and the Conservative Party. And the Conservatives are really full all in on the legacy. He's just got to do it now. It's the man with the plan. He said it. He's got to do it now. If he doesn't have a plan, we're going to hell in a handbasket. And it's like, everybody knows that a budgeting exercise takes about 6 solid straight months. Normally that process starts sometime around November so that there's a budget ready in March. But the Conservatives weren't allowing anything to be discussed since the second week of September. They held up Parliament. So yes, there were work on estimates and stuff that we're going through, but it never got to go to committee. It never got to be debated. It never got to be discussed. Right? They kept on trying to take down the government, make the government fall, which would have made a spring budget not very possible. Then Chrystia Freeland did what she did in mid-December, and then we had a leadership review. Not a leadership review, but a new leadership race, then an election, and now Parliament's about to sit. So I'm not sure how the Conservatives expect that a proper budget that won't be obsolete 1 week after it's tabled, or won't be trash 1 week after it's tabled, to be done in the space of 4 weeks. Well, we should sit throughout the summer. Conservatives never sit throughout the summer. Or throughout the holidays, they always say, but they ultimately never vote for it. Right? It's all the same old rhetoric again. You're not doing something that we're not prepared to do. You're bad. You're not doing it on our schedule. You're not. It's the same old rhetoric. It might be couched every now and then, and it's sort of like, well, yes, we'll be reasonable and we'll be cooperative type thing, but it's not really, right? So here we have Pierre making some comments outside of the House of Commons, but inside Parliament, talking about giving some insights about how he and his party are going to be handling things over the next couple of days or the next couple of weeks. And you're going to hear in this what I mean, where he says some things that try to make it sound like this party is trying to be reasonable. But then again, when you actually pay attention to everything that it's couched in, it's the brand of business as usual nasty that this party has become known and extremely famous for. So, without any further ado, unfortunately, ReRun Poilièvre.
Very pleased to be joined by my Shadow Minister of Finance, Jas Halan. We also have our Associate Finance Shadow Minister here, Eric Lefebvre. Yesterday, the government tabled a Ways and Means motion with regards to 3 tax measures. Now, I'll just take a very brief trip down memory lane, not too far back, but of course, We Conservatives have been leading a crusade for lower taxes, to axe the carbon tax and the GST off new homes, to cut income taxes. And of course, when we proposed this, the Liberals said we were crazy, and now all of a sudden they are, at least in part, plagiarizing our policy proposals and adopting modified and watered down versions of them. Their motion will partly eliminate the carbon tax, the GST off homes, and give a very modest, very tiny income tax cut. So tiny that it would be barely enough to buy you a cup of coffee every week at a Starbucks. But it's better than nothing. Conservatives came here to fight for lower taxes and more purchasing power. And so we are going to put forward amendments to this motion that will get rid of the entire carbon tax for everyone, for real, for good. We also push for the GST to come off of more homes so that we can encourage more building and more buying. And we'll push for a bigger income tax cut that people will actually notice, so that hard work really does pay off for a change. Finally, we are going to push for cuts in bureaucracy, consultants, corporate welfare, and foreign aid, so that we can match the lost revenue with lower spending in order to avoid adding to the deficit. Every dollar of deficit spending is a dollar of inflation that ultimately shows up across the country. We cannot print and borrow our way to prosperity. We need sound money again, and that means bringing down the deficit. So we will, that said, we are the party of taxpayers. We will vote for every tax cut, always and everywhere. We love taxpayers, and we want taxpayers to be better off. We will offer even better ideas in the future, and as I said a few weeks ago, I'm encouraging the Liberals to steal my ideas, because we have the best ideas. We've been winning the debate on ideas, whether it's on carbon taxes, inflation, housing, resources, drugs, crime. Conservatives have been leading on all of those things, and we're here for the right reasons, not for our egos. It's to get things done to make people's lives better so that they can work hard, have beautiful homes, and safe neighborhoods. That's our mission, and that's what we'll fight for.
All right, that was 2 minutes and 51 seconds of pure, unadulterated bullshit. Bullshit. So that's what I mean, right? Yes, we'll always accept tax cuts like this, but watered down tax cut and insult and cutting and insult and cutting and insult. That's Pierre. He just cannot help himself. He just can't. So, which is sad. But hey, if we ever have to bet on someone to live down to expectations, and I'm pretty sure that we're going to get our money, it would be him. Right. So let's go through some things. Jason Halan, his shadow minister for finance. Mr. Halan has no real financial background at all. When we were wondering during the election campaign who would be the person who would be the finance minister, well, it seems that he would be the finance minister under Thurs Poilièvre government. Jasraj Singh Halan, before entering politics, was a businessman in Calgary owning a home building business. He graduated from Lester Pearson High School, has completed an accounting diploma from the Southern Alberta Institute of Technology. He also has a certified master builder designation and ran a home building business operating in Calgary. He was going to be the finance minister. The other guy on the other side is like the secondary shadow critic or something, what he's calling on finance. So he needs two of them. And when he delivered all those goodies, 73, he basically assigned two conservatives, essentially, to every cabinet minister or parliamentary secretary to try to take them down. Right? So it's going to be all put downs and punch downs and all that kind of stuff pretty much all the time. there are people in the Conservative Party that do have a financial background who would be much better options. But he's not going with competence or merit, ironically, but party loyalty. Then he goes on to say the Libs said that all of their tax cut stuff was crazy. That never happened. It never happened. That's just reformulating history. He talked about the tax cut. That's a well, the policies like this. He's stealing all our policies that were modified and watered down. There were certain policies that the Conservatives spoke about first, that the Liberals did put in their platform in terms of, yes, we're going to neutralize this by putting something similar. But the Conservatives also did the same thing. That's a standard operating practice in politics. If you're both going to be somebody's going to be offering a tax cut, you offer one too in order to neutralize the issue. And then so we stop talking about that and we talk about the issues on which you think that you can win by drawing contrast. That's not plagiarism. It's just smart strategy, and all parties do it. Right? When he's talking about permanently, for real, removing the full carbon tax, what he's conflating issues. He's talking about the consumer carbon tax, which is already gone, which he's pretending is not really already gone. Right? Even though last week he did say it was already gone, because when data came in and said, well, look at this. Oh my God, look how much inflation went down because the carbon tax is gone. See, we told you. Oh, so is it gone or is it not gone? Because you were crowing about the drop in inflation due to eliminating carbon tax and trying to take credit for it, saying that you were right all along. You saw that it would be that big. The entire cut in inflation was not the result of the elimination of the carbon tax, however. The price of gas did go down another significant percentage based on the OPEC lowering prices and lowering of demand as well. So I'm not sure. Not lowering the prices, lowering production. Sorry, output. So I'm not sure where Pierre Poilièvre is getting this. When he says fully removing the carbon tax, he's going to present the amendment he's going to present is going to be an unhelpful amendment that will be rejected, because what he will be doing is proposing eliminating the consumer carbon price in law, which the Prime Minister has already taken steps to do. They removed it via an order in council, but now the legislation is actually underway for that. And his amendment will also include, obviously, the industrial carbon tax. Because what the Conservatives are doing is that they're taking the consumer carbon tax and the industrial carbon tax, and now they're putting it together. And they're saying that's the full carbon tax. Before they were calling it carbon tax 1 and carbon tax 2. Now they're saying it's the full carbon tax. So what basically the Conservatives' amendment is going to be is to make pollution free, which not very many people are going to vote for whatsoever. And then they're going to take that and they're going to run and say, see, he said he canceled the carbon tax, but he didn't really send us money. That's the plan. So again, theater, BS, lies, conflation, half-truths, two half-truths put together to try to create a full truth, but they don't go together. All the typical Conservative strategies. Nothing has changed ultimately at the end of the day. Then he talks about the tax cut, which he says is watered down and hardly anything. But let us remember, kits and cubs, what the Conservative tax cut was. In the platform during the election, Poilièvre's promise to cut the lowest marginal tax rate or tax bracket from 15 to 12.75% would have cost the Treasury $14 billion a year. When he announced it on March 24th, the Conservatives provided CBC News with a backgrounder explaining that the tax cut would be phased in over 5 years. Over 5 years. So you had to re-elect him to get all of it. But he was bragging about it. Affordability. We're going to come here and save you. You have to wait 5 years to get all of it. But affordability now, we've got the best plan. It's a lie. In 2025, 2026, and 2026, 2027, the measure would have come halfway in, costing the government $7 billion a year before being expanded in 2027. But according to the Conservative platform that was released right near the end of the election, the tax cut all of a sudden was going to be phased in even more gradually than first promised. In 2025-2026, this year, the cut would have cost the federal government a little over $1 billion. In other words, the tax cut that you would be getting for the rest of this fiscal year, or for the entirety of this fiscal year, if it was backdated, would have been virtually nothing. Nothing. Okay. The Liberals have also announced a cut to the lowest tax bracket. Their percentage point reduction from 15 to 14 will be fully phased in on Canada Day. That's expected to cost the government about $6 billion a year, if I'm not mistaken. So for 2025-2026, on your income tax, the Liberals are offering $6 billion worth of tax cut. And the Conservatives bait and switched, promised 7 when they announced it, and all the cameras were on, and then released their costed, allegedly, platform quietly a couple of days before the election, hoping nobody would notice, and reduced that $7 billion tax cut to $1 billion for this year, when the Liberals are offering 6. But Pierre still has the audacity to go in front of a mic yesterday and talk down the Liberal tax cut for this year as if it would have been less than what the Conservatives would have offered. The Conservatives pulled a bait and switch on the entire nation with that costed platform. And they are bellying up to a mic today, pretending like they never did it. That's how stupid they think we are. They think we would not notice. Nothing has changed with these people. He then goes on to say that by cutting corporate welfare and red tape and consultants and foreign aid, they'll be able to make all that money to be able to do all these things that'll make it such that 2 million people allegedly will not have to line up at food banks every single day. No, there's not enough money in those envelopes to take care of that. And all the tax cuts and make it so that you can live on that beautiful house on a safe street, whatnot, like this, that tagline that he's still adding to the end. He's removes something about the police and the military there and under a proud flag and stuff, but it's still the sort of same tagline again that didn't work from him in the previous election because the party lost the election, he lost his seat, but he's still going with that. But he's the party of change. Then, saying that, well, Conservatives have the best ideas, and you don't. You might have the more popular ideas, hence populism, but all of your ideas that you're putting out there are never exactly what you say they are. And the fine print sometimes makes them the opposite of what you claim they are. So people are not voting for your ideas if you are lying about what your ideas are. They're voting for the illusion of the idea that you are creating. You don't have the best ideas. If you did, you would have won last time, or the time before, or the time before, or the time before. Maybe the problem is the ideas. The policy and the pitchmen are the problem. And the Conservatives just won't admit it. Oh well. So yeah, Conservatives just lying about the tax cut, left, right, and center, every single chance they have. But the Liberals, under Mark Carney, are giving you way more this year than the Conservatives ever would. Then, for next year, the Conservative tax cut would rise to $5.4 billion, which is still less than 6. So this year and next year, in this big rush for affordability that Conservatives say that we need to cut all taxes, every tax possible to make it affordable for you, they would still be offering less than Prime Minister Mark Carney. So if we had another election next year at some point, if the government fell on a minority. The Conservatives would still, had they been in power, offering you a smaller tax cut than the Liberals will have in place by July 1st. For a full year and a half, would be giving you less. And they're going to spend this whole next year and a half bragging about how their plan would have been so much better. Our plan to give you even less than we promised and less than the other guy is giving you now is the best plan. That's literally what he's saying. He's so full of shit. Oh my God. This man, he just cannot not lie. He just can't. I don't know what it is with him, but he just cannot not lie. Now, of course, he has to lie because his policies are crap. And there's the betrayal there again, right? We have all the best policies. Well, then why do you have to lie about them all the time if they're the best? You know they're not the best. And you know you're lying when you tell us that they are the best. He just can't stop lying or making shit up. He just can't. He doesn't have it in him. It's not in his repertoire. Don't expect it. And if you hear media saying, oh my God, he's so soft, he hasn't. He's a performer for the current nanosecond and nothing further. There's no long-term plan. There's no long-term strategy. If for the next year and a half, they're going to go around the country pretending that their tax cut would have been bigger, that's the same old lies and deception and duplicity that made them fail in the last 4 elections. There's no growth. There's no change. There's no change in policy. There's no improvement. There's nothing more for you. He's wasting your time. He's wasting your time. And we're paying him to do it. Not to mention the insult to your intelligence. Because Pierre seems to believe that Canadians will not be able to tell that 1 billion is less than 6. I do not know why the Conservatives do this. They just cannot play a long game. The Conservatives have to stop trying to win the nanosecond. It's not helping them. All right. Oh, man. What else do we have for you kits and cubs? Ah, yes. Indeed. We mentioned the return of wildfires, undesirable. The return of Pierre Poilièvre, so far, in some capacity, undesirable. And the last of the 3 undesirables who have made a return, unfortunately, is COVID, kits and cubs. I hate to be the bearer of bad news on this one. I really do. But yes, last night at around, I guess 10 o'clock in the evening, I had seen 2 or 3 reports in about 3 hours that cases of COVID had doubled over the course of 1 week in Taiwan. And you're thinking, okay, well, that's way over there. What's the big deal? Well, it's a big enough deal because while this has doubled in the last week, it's the 7th weekly surge of COVID-19 cases in Taiwan. So according to Focus Taiwan CNA English News, and this is, it says, over 40,000 people sought medical treatment for COVID-19 in Taiwan last week, more than double the previous week's figure and the 7th consecutive weekly increase, the Centers for Disease Control said Tuesday. Quote, the current outbreak is continuing to rise rapidly with a sustained increase in severe and fatal cases, said Li Qialin, deputy director of the CDC's Epidemic Intelligence Center at a regular news briefing in Taipei. A total of 41,402 outpatient and emergency visits related to COVID-19 were reported from May 18th to 24th, more than double the 19,097 recorded the previous week, CDC data showed. It also marked the 7th consecutive weekly increase, with last week's tally surpassing the 23,555 visits reported during the same period in 2024. CDC spokesperson Lo Chi-yun said that while part of the rise in case numbers may be due to more people getting tested amid the outbreak, revealing previously undetected cases, the primary driver of the current surge remains the rapid spread of the virus. Lo explained that the new variant, NB181, keep that in mind, NB181, has strong immune evasion capabilities, meaning it can more easily escape the body's existing defenses and higher transmissibility than other previously dominant variants. Another reason Lo said is that there was no major outbreak during the winter, leaving a significant portion of the population unexposed to the latest variant and without immunity from natural infection. While the CDC estimated last week that the current COVID-19 outbreak would peak in mid to late June, with weekly medical visits reaching up to 100,000, Lo said the latest projections indicate the peak will be delayed until late June or early July, with weekly visits now expected to reach between 150 and 200,000, so potentially twice as worse as being projected. Quote, "We currently estimate that the outbreak will continue through late July to early August," he added. To protect themselves and others from COVID-19 infection, Lo recommends that members of the public wear masks when visiting medical and long-term care facilities, using public transportation, or entering crowded indoor spaces, especially the elderly and those with chronic illnesses. Those with a fever or respiratory symptoms are advised to stay home as much as possible and wear a mask if they must leave home, Lo said. Meanwhile, the Taiwan Food and Drug Administration said Monday that production of COVID-19 rapid test kits continues to ramp up, with weekly supply exceeding twice the amount estimated by the CDC as needed. According to the TFDA, local manufacturers reported that production is expected to reach 460,000 kits this week and 620,000 kits next week. Quote, "The TFDA has recently reached out multiple times to domestic pharmacy and convenience store chains, urging them to expand the distribution and stock of COVID-19 rapid test kits," the agency said. It added that a meeting with stakeholders was held on Monday to ensure timely restocking of rapid test kits at stores across Taiwan. Now, I'm talking about Taiwan and raising a little bit of a red alert. And you say, well, why? That's so far away. Well, again, that type of expansion, we're in the 7th week of expansion, and we're talking about tens of thousands of cases. The other reason is that NB181 is current. It's significant enough that the World Health Organization has added it as a SARS-CoV-2 variant under monitoring. And the NB181 variant has been detected in New York City, in California, and in Canada. It's already here. So, this summer, if you were planning to skip a booster, because there has been some news circulating out that maybe younger kids would not need a booster this year or that type of stuff, this might not be the summer to do so. So for those in the audience who do the booster thing, if you were planning to skip this summer's, because it's warmer weather and we're outside and all that kind of stuff, and you're younger and all that kind of stuff, one might want to reconsider that this particular summer, given that there's a new variant emerging, and where in the primary spot where it seems to be emerging 7 straight weeks of increases, and the monitoring indicating that the situation might be twice as worse as the worst case scenario monitoring that existed up until then. So please be COVID wise if you can, and know that this is happening. I'm not sure how much play this has gotten yet in North American news, but it is indeed starting again. And so for those of us who want to be vigilant, there might be some reason to go get to schedule your booster as early as possible while it's just been detected here and hasn't started to ramp up. And I think you can see my shirt throughout the show has been having the wardrobe thing again. It did not stay, and I do not know why it's doing it now, because there is still no additional sun or light. But yes, it is determining that I am somewhat see-through and green underneath this shirt, I guess. Oh well, and I am trying to change the controls to make that happen, but it just seems to keep coming back. So I apologize for the distraction that you see the image through the shirt there. Other things that we need to mention before we go today, kids and cubs. Another undesirable. Ambassador, the man who puts ass in ambassador, Pete Hoekstra, the American ambassador to Canada, apparently didn't like the fact, still doesn't like the fact that we're upset. Now, of course, yesterday we showed you how his boss, Donald Trump, made him the latest victim of his, go out and make a bold statement, defend me, and then watch me cut you off at the knees, and now you're going to look stupid. So Ambassador Hoekstra, looking stupid, decided to lash out. And since he can't lash out at his boss because he knows what would happen to him, lashed out with us. And according to the Hill Times, here's the title. We're hurt too. U.S. envoy counters Canadians' outrage over annexation threats. By Neil Moss of the Hill Times. United States President Donald Trump's top diplomat in Ottawa says the hurt over the state of the bilateral relationship isn't just being felt by Canadians. Quote, we're hurt too, Ambassador Pete Hoekstra told the Hill Times during a May 22nd interview at the U.S. Embassy. Quote, for 10 years, you didn't pay for NATO. That's a lie. Nobody pays for NATO in the first place. It's not like there's a membership fee or annual dues here. Yes. In that sense, when he's talking about it, he's just talking about percentage of GDP spending on defense. It's like, and for 10 years, we didn't do nothing? So we are at 0.099 when Harper left, and we're at 1.37 about. That is a significant increase in 10 years. Yes, it doesn't put us among the top tier, but it is an absolutely significant increase over the last 10 years to say you didn't pay for NATO is an outright lie. So I'm not sure how it is he thinks that making these statements, you didn't pay for NATO, is going to help his cause. We're already not big fans of the administration. We're already not big fans of the president, and we are certainly not fans of his. So I'm not sure how he keep on running his trash mouth is going to help. But it seems that this is his style, because he did the same thing when he was appointed as the ambassador to the Netherlands the first time around, another position that did not go well for him. Quote, international diplomacy is tough. The world is a tough place. Getting prosperity, security, and safety for people, which are top priorities for the president, that's hard, he said. So no, I'm not very sympathetic. Well, neither are we, you fuckwad. We don't want to hear you complaining we're hurt too. You threw the 51st first punches in this fight. We swung back. We saw your fake king and we raised you a real one, and you swelled up and fell apart. Our punch landed. Now you're crying. Well, fuck your feelings too, sir. Sorry. If you're going to stand there and say, well, we're not very sympathetic, well, then don't start with we're hurt too and expect us to be sympathetic back. The opposite of love isn't hate. It's utter and complete indifference. Please accept our invitation to go fornicate with yourself and find the experience as pleasant as you were when you came out to say that. We're hurt too. Seriously. We're hurt too. Screw you. Go get bent. I would love for Anita Anand to call this guy in to have a one-on-one conversation. But again, like on the Golden Dome, saying, no, fuck you with that, is not an option. And it's not in the long-term play. So, but there would be cause here to, yeah, you know what? We're going to send this one back. And when you're ready to send us one that is actually willing, when you're actually willing to send us an ambassador that actually has the ear of the President of the United States, we'll talk. But send this one back. Clearly, he does not know what he's talking about and has no influence. Something we should do. Something we can't. Because as soon as we did that, the international humiliation and embarrassment to the president would be such that there's no doubt that there would be some type of retaliation. But we should be sending this, pardon my language, fucker back. And I use the word fucker absolutely intentionally here. Because when he was the ambassador to the Netherlands, he was one of those weirdos who was going all around and saying that there were no-go zones that politicians couldn't go to because they would be killed by Muslims in the Netherlands. And then on his first day as ambassador to the Netherlands, he was asked a few questions about that. And he just denied that he had ever made the claims. Now, this was something that was started by Hungary, of course, right? Hungary is financing. There are no-go zones in Europe. And then they took up on that, much like the white South African farmers are being are the victims of genocide, and then they ran with that. It wasn't true. But they're running with that. So Pika Hoekstra denied that he ever made those comments. And then during that interview, they showed him making these comments. And then he got offended. He got offended that they showed him and said, well, I haven't made those comments today. I was right to say I didn't make those comments. I was in my rights to say I didn't make these comments before. Because I'm not making those comments today. He still made them then. And then he kept denying and denying and denying until eventually, somewhere down the road, he eventually had to retract those comments. But still tried to save face by saying, oh, well, I must have mixed up with another country. There was no other country that had these alleged no-go zones either. It was real somewhere at some place sometime. Yeah, I know. No, it wasn't. And then while he was there, apparently he held some fundraisers for some very right-wing candidates, which is literally direct election interference. This is the guy they sent us. So, yeah, send him back. We don't want this one. Send us someone who actually knows how to behave like a diplomat and actually knows what the president intends and wants and has his ear. Because this guy, he's not it. Mr. Hoekstra is very, very quickly wearing out both his welcome and my weave. I'm not impressed with him. I swear. When America sends their diplomats, they're not sending their best. They're sending people who cause a lot of problems. They're bringing thugs. They're bringing grime. Some are racist. Some, I assume, are competent people. Not this one. Definitely not this one. Oh my God. This guy needs to learn more of this and less of this. Because every time he talks, he does not make things better in any way, shape, or form. It's just sad to watch this guy go. To put the final bow on the visit from the Royals, they left us with a little bit of a parting gift, kids and cubs, and I will put it up there for you, so for you to see. It's a picture of King Charles III and Queen Consort Camilla waving from the plane here as they are about to board from a hangar at the Ottawa International Airport, and stayed here. As my wife and I leave Canada, we wanted to send our most heartfelt thanks to all those who turned out to offer their support on this, my first visit as sovereign. It was the warmest of welcomes and the fondest of returns to a land and a people we love. Until the next time, au revoir, Canada, et avec tous nos remerciements. So there you go. And the Prime Minister had a little comment on that as well. In return, thank you, Your Majesties, for your visit and your enduring admiration for Canada. Merci et à bientôt. So, little parting gift from the Royals, a little final show of appreciation for the nation on the way out. So again, all of these things, of course, are planned and choreographed and that type of thing. But one final tiny little assertion of sovereignty just before the plane leaves. His Majesty did very much well understand the assignment this time around and delivered rather well, I have to say. So that's just a little moment there that I wanted to put there for you. And also, there's another thing going on here, kids and cubs, that you might want to be aware of. For those of you who are interested in national security, there is a petition being circulated. It's been brought to my attention a couple of times today on the show by Kit Deborah, who posted something in the chat earlier. But yes, it is indeed, you will find it at our Commons/petitions, and it's petition E6489. And basically, it says here, it's a petition to the House of Commons in Parliament assembled, and it says, whereas national security is a fundamental concern for all Canadians and public confidence in the integrity of political leaders is essential to a functioning democracy. Recent events have raised legitimate concerns about foreign influence and potential security risks within Canada, political parties requiring urgent and proactive safeguards, and transparency and accountability in assessing political candidates and party leaders are crucial to ensuring that those who seek to govern are acting in the best interests of Canada and its people. We, the undersigned, citizens and residents of Canada, call upon the House of Commons to 1. Direct appropriate national security and intelligence agencies to conduct a comprehensive review of potential security risks associated with political leadership in Canada, ensuring all candidates for party leadership and high office undergo security vetting. 2. Develop and implement mechanisms to enhance transparency in the vetting process of political candidates, increasing public confidence while maintaining legal and privacy protections. And 3. Strengthen national safeguards against foreign interference in Canadian democratic institutions and commit to ensuring that all elected officials meet the highest standards of integrity, accountability, and national loyalty. So this would be a petition in some way to make it such that Pierre must get his security clearance. And when it says strengthen national safeguards against foreign interference in Canadian democratic institutions, if one considers the press to be a Canadian democratic institution, this petition could make appeals there, for example, for Canadian media to be Canadian owned. So if this is a petition, we're doing our democracy is something that you do moment a little earlier today. But if you are indeed interested in this petition, I would ask you, kids and cubs, to please make your way and sign it. And what I am doing right now for you is I'm making sure, because the URL is long, I am making sure that there is a tiny URL that I'm going to generate so that I could put it in the chat for you, kids and cubs. And that way it'll make it much easier for you to be able to enter into the site and sign that petition. So I don't need to customize the link. So there you go. And I do not know why it's not working for me today. Okay. Anyway, I will make sure that I get that in the chat for you kits and cubs, and hopefully you will do your little bit for democracy and ensure that we are indeed doing what we need to do and encouraging our government and our House of Representatives, or House of Commons, I should say, because House of Representatives is really US, but they are technically a House of Representatives for us, but our House of Commons to actually do what is needed to be done to ensure that the leaders of our political party getting the security clearance that they need in this day and age. Very, very important. So there we go. I just posted that in the chat for you kits and cubs. That does not look like a tiny URL at all, but it did fit in the chat. So there you go. I don't know why these, for some reason, the copy and paste function on this computer, this new computer, works when it's to. That's some of the reasons why every now and then Mr. Grizzly goes to show a clip, and it's the wrong clip because it's what I copied and pasted the first time, but for some reason it did not carry over, and therefore the thing that I copy and paste repeats rather than generating a new one. So once again, kits and cubs, I am so sorry for that the tiny URL didn't work. I will try that again for you here and make sure that I get that. Just Apple computers are still a little weird to me, and I keep on trying to understand, make sure I get it right. But there's actually no way to know whether or not you got something right until you actually copy it again and then realize you got it wrong. So there we go. There's the tiny URL for you kits and cubs. That makes more sense. That's easier to remember and take a note of. So please do, if you have an opportunity, go sign that petition and make sure that you are letting our elected representatives know that this is a matter of great concern to you. Kit Elaine in the chat going, I signed it yesterday evening, because of course you did. I like that. Very proactive kits here. Good. Cat W, finally have to sign that one. There you go. Yes. Very important petition, and very thankful to those who have indeed brought it up, and those who actually generated it in the first place. Again, just some members of the community who are doing the democracy thing, and that makes us very proud here at the Beaver Lodge when we see people being proactive on that front. Okay, let's see, what else do I have for you before we got to go today? Yay, we're at the Canadians who make us proud portion of the show. And kits and cubs, we have been talking a lot, as you know, about this young lady named Victoria Mboko at the French Open. Well, kits and cubs, Miss Mboko has clearly, finally arrived, because none other than interesting, this one, none other than the New York Times, kits and cubs, have given this young lady a profile. Victoria Mboko, the Canadian tennis talent who can't stop winning, arrives at a Grand Slam, and there she is in her yellow tennis ensemble from which she's playing her matches at the French Open, and surprising and impressing everyone. So given that she's got a little profile here, why not, since we've been talking about her, read it in to the show. as we say, kids and cubs, we're not journalists on the show, right? We curate and we comment and we analyze on news. But if there's ever been one sports story in which we can claim that we've done journalism, is this, because we have been talking about her for well over a year on the show. Yes, and now in the New York Times. And this is by Matthew Futterman. Ripping a backhand past a former Wimbledon quarterfinalist to clinch a first Grand Slam win on the opening day of the French Open is a pretty good way to make tennis fans stand up and take notice. Or maybe Victoria Mboko, the 18-year-old American-born Canadian-raised daughter of Congolese parents, has been announcing herself for months now. Maybe folks just weren't listening closely enough. We were. Everyone is now. As her Roland Garros debut approached, Mboko played the same brain game she's been playing through a startling climb up tennis's biosphere. She tells herself that what is happening isn't actually happening. Quote, kinda just played down, she said during an interview after her 6-1, 7-6, 7-4 in the tiebreak win over Lulu Sun of New Zealand Sunday afternoon. Come Wednesday, she knocked out rising German Eva Lise 6-4, 6-4 to move into the third round of the French Open at her first major. Quote, pretend like you're playing somewhere else, that you're not at a Grand Slam. It's another clay court tournament. That way, I don't put as much pressure on myself and the points. I let loose and I kind of go for my shots a little bit more, she said. If playing make-believe before walking onto the biggest stages in tennis could lead to Mboko taking a spot next to Bianca Andreescu, Leila Fernandez, Denis Shapovalov, Felix Auger-Aliassime, Milos Raonic, and others in Canadian tennis firmament, then Mboko probably ought to keep doing it. Her performance against Sun showed every bit of what she has generated all the buzz about Mboko becoming the latest in a string of Canadians from immigrant families who have made it to the top of the sport. Quote, we know Canada is a very multicultural country and we are very accepting of everyone, Andreescu, who has become a mentor to Mboko, said during an interview in Rome. Quote, I think it's a beautiful thing that we're all from different cultures, different backgrounds, but at the end of the day, Tennis Canada really has built this program in the acceptance of everybody, no matter who you are. Ken, keep on saying it. Sports federations, look to Tennis Canada. Model what you're doing based on what they're doing. They've got a winning formula. The youngest by 7 years of 4 tennis-playing siblings, Mboko has been winning more than just about anyone in professional women's tennis since the start of the year. She finished last year ranked 350th, with her coaches believing fully in her potential, but also wanting her to take it slow, given her struggles with knee injuries in recent years. Now they have another problem on their hands. Mboko has won so many matches that she's already played more than she has ever played before. She started the year winning 22 in a row on the ITF World Tennis Tour, which is 2 rungs below the WTA Tour that she's on now. She lost 1, then won another 5, this time at a WTA 125 event, the next rung up, in Porto. She has won matches in Rome, Georgia, and Rome, Italy, at the Italian Open. Her record on the year is 42 wins and 5 losses. 42 wins, 5 losses. Quote, that's a lot, Marko Strilic, one of the 3 coaches she works with at the Canadian Tennis Federation, said during an interview. Quote, if she keeps winning, you have to figure out a way to manage the schedule so that she doesn't get hurt. This is for the long term. That was 3 weeks ago in Rome before Mboko cruised through the French Open qualifying to earn her main draw debut and then knocked through Sun as though she knew she would all along. Mboko was all business again on Wednesday against Lise, but for a couple of service breaks she quickly recovered from. Her brother Kevin, 27, and a tennis coach in suburban Toronto, said that from the moment she woke up, she set her mind on only one thing: winning. Quote, she looked at us and said, I got to win today. He said in an interview after she did just that. Quote, we were trying to bring her down a little bit, telling her that it's all right to just go out there and have fun and enjoy the experience. She was like, no, I got to win. That's how she was during her hit before walking onto the court, and it's how she was through the 79-minute match. Rain, wind, muddy balls, nothing really budged her off her game. Quote, it's been really calm between the day, she said. That's how my coach wanted it to be. She woke at 6:45 Wednesday, ready to roll. There was a quick breakfast, a ride to Roland Garros, a physical warm-up, and then a 30-minute hit at 9:30 a.m. Quote, then I just chilled in the locker room until my match, she said. All week, all month, really, there's been a, quote, no big deal sensibility to Mboko. She credited the presence of her sister and brother for that. Quote, there's so much happening even behind the scenes, she said. Quote, I feel like my family has been doing a good job of keeping me, I guess, isolated from it all. I've just been enjoying the moment. I've been enjoying time with my sister and my brother. I don't have so many people around me, and it's kept me very calm and very comfortable. At some point, this is going to get complicated, but for Kevin and everyone else closest to Mboko, this rocket ride both is and not surprising. Her oldest sister, Gracia, 28, who has been courtside all event, played tennis for the University of Denver. She said that she and her brothers always knew that their baby sister had something they did not. Gracia recalled a local women's tournament at their home club in Burlington, a city in the Greater Toronto area of Ontario that she played in when she was 17. At the last minute, another slot opened up, and a pro at the club asked Victoria, who was just 9, who had come to watch, if she wanted to play. Victoria jumped at the opportunity and eventually faced her sister. Gracia won 6-0, 6-0, but the way Victoria behaved, it was as though she had expected the results to go the other way. Quote, "It's that belief in yourself that the very top of the 1% have," Gracia, a consultant in private equity, said Sunday after watching her sister win. Quote, "It's not only should I win this match, I'm going to do it." And then she does it. At least she does now. For the past couple of years, a knee injury caused both by rapid growth and a bad fall on a tennis court has made that difficult. She spent much of last year based in Belgium at the academy of Justine Henin, the former world #1 and 4-time French Open champion. She played little for the first 6 months of the year. Getting healthy was the priority. Even then, she ended the year losing more than she won, dropping 3 of her last 4 matches. Quote, "Last year ended very poorly," said Kevin. "I didn't see any of this coming. No one did." Their father, Cyprien, a retired mechanical engineer who worked nights in part so they could drive his children to their tennis obligations, was there too. Victoria's mother, Godet, an accountant, was back home dealing with a heavy end-of-the-month workload, as was her other brother, David, a 25-year-old data scientist. The Mbokos moved from the Democratic Republic of Congo nearly 3 decades ago to escape the First and Second Congo Wars of the mid-1990s. Visa issues kept the family separated, with Godet in Montreal and Cyprien in North Carolina. Godet then moved to North Carolina, where the family lived for several years and where Victoria was born before all moving to Toronto when she was still a baby. Victoria didn't let the losses in the final months of 2024 get to her. Quote, "I just thought, new year, new me," she said during an interview in Rome. She decided to play like the version of herself that she long believed in. Quote, "An aggressive athletic player who likes to take control of points and dictate the action." In Miami, she beat Camila Osorio, a 23-year-old tour mainstay, and pushed Paula Badosa, the number 10 seed at Roland Garros, to a third-set tiebreak. In Rome, she cruised through the first set in her second-round match against Coco Gauff, lacing backhands and forehands through the court on the Campo Centrale like a seasoned veteran. Gauff turned the match into one of her long-distance track races, getting so many balls back that Mboko was huffing and puffing between every point. But the world number 2 came away seriously impressed. She, quote, "felt like playing myself," Gauff said in a huddle after the match, especially with how well Mboko covered the court. Quote, "On the movement, I would say she's up there with me on that, Gauff, probably the best mover in the sport," said. Gracia Mboko said her sister came away from that loss both devastated and determined. Quote, "She told me she was so out of steam that she couldn't believe how Coco was getting every ball back," she said Sunday. She kept saying, "I gotta get in shape." It motivated her. In Paris, Mboko has also showed off a precocious variety, mixing in drop shots and slices, including a hard slicing forehand to keep Sun off balance. Her coach is Nathalie Tozia, who got to number 3 in the world with a game molded around variety. But Mboko can also crack her serve at 120 miles per hour. Not surprisingly, she grew up worshipping Serena Williams. Mboko said after Sunday's win that she'd learned plenty from that loss to Gauff. She knew that she had let the world's number 2 grit frustrate her, thinking about the last point when she was supposed to be thinking about the next one. Her coaches are onto this. Quote, "They'll start to snap me right back into it," she said. "They'll actually say, stay present, stay focused, or close it right here." With 42 wins in a year, Mboko isn't exactly unfamiliar with closing it. Now she's doing it on the biggest stage in sport. That is quite a glowing profile for this phenom. And speaking of phenoms, Summer McIntosh, Kits and Cubs, has got herself a new coach. And not just coach. Oh, no. She has got Coach Bob Bowman. And if that name does ring a bell for you, the reason why it would is that Mike Phelps, former coach, the guy who guided him to a record 23 gold medals. Yeah, the absolute best in the world want to work with the absolute best in the world. So if you think that it looks like summer's just getting started. Get it? Summer's getting started. A little accidental humor there. So good for her. Absolutely. This is very exciting news in the sports world. So French Open this afternoon. Gabriel Diallo will be playing his second round match against going by the last name of Griekspoor, Dutch, and Denis Shapovalov will also be playing this spring in a match against Misolic, who I believe, if I'm not mistaken, is an Austrian. And this is a match that Tadalov should win based on rankings, because Misolic is ranked 153 in the world, and Denis Shapovalov is ranked 31st. So hopefully that will be a good match for him and able to have him advance to the third round. For Diallo, he is playing someone who is higher ranked in playing Thomas Griekspoor. But Griekspoor is ranked 35th in the world, and he just took out Francisco Cerandulo, who was playing really well. And he was 18th in the world in his last. So hopefully this will it'll be another chance for Diallo to win. It's a best of 5 sets, and Griekspoor won the first set 7-5, and we are 5-4 on serve in the second set at the moment. So I will be tuning in to watch that when the show is done to see how it ends up. Let's see, what else do we have, Kits and Cubs, before we have to go? Yes. Also, Kit mentioned this in the chat today, and I've been following this. Cyclist Derek G, who we talked about earlier this year, because he had or last year, I think, had a good result at the Tour de France. I think he had won a stage or something last time. He's in the Giro d'Italia, which is basically the Tour of Italy. And he's been climbing in the Classement Général throughout the race. He started in the 20s, and at one point earlier this week, he was at 10th, then 5th, and now he's at 4th. He's in 4th place. So this is a cycling, it's not like a one-day race, it's like the Tour de France, many days, many stages, and then you do the cumulative time throughout it all. So that's what they have, the Grand Classement, what they call the GC. And he is in 4th by a decent amount, though. I think third place is 51 seconds behind the leader, and he's then 1 minute and 57 seconds behind the leader. So there's a big gap between 3rd and 4th place, but he has been making up time throughout the stages. I do not know how many stages are left in this race, but today is the 18th stage, and it hasn't gotten started yet. It's about to. So we wish him good luck. It would be nice to see him be able to get on the podium of the Grand Classement. The Giro d'Italia is a very prestigious race. Again, the Tour de France is the most prestigious one out there, but the Giro d'Italia, if it isn't the second most, it's up there. So good results from our Canadian athletes. Again, whoa, that was an interesting noise. Finally, Kits and Cubs, a happy birthday to Bruce Cockburn, person who made the song Lovers in a Dangerous Time, very famous. If I Had a Rocket Launcher, celebrated his 80th birthday. A pillar of and a well-known name, very well-respected name in Canadian music. So it was really nice to see that he's still kicking and still playing music too. So good for him. All right, Kits and Cubs, that's all we have for you today. We hope that you love listening to us, because we loved making this for you. Remember, sharing is caring, and word of mouth is priceless. So please tell your peeps and poops all about us. Right? Now, Kits and Cubs, if you would like to be sure that you do not miss a single episode of our show, especially if you're on the go and doing busy things because you're a busy person having a busy life, well, hey, we got you covered. Don't worry. Just go to the pod page sponsored by the Ray Girl, podpage.com/the-truenortheagerbeaver. And if you go, well, you have to put a hyphen between each one of those words. And if you go there and click subscribe when we have something fresh off the bandwidth, it will come directly to you. Thank you so much for doing that. And if you would like to help us in other ways, well, maybe you would like to hang 10 all the way down to the True North Eager Beaver Media Incorporated YouTube page, where Kits, Cassie, and Elaine will be waiting for you and welcoming you and inviting you to smash with our buttons like, share, subscribe. Hey, smash with them. Get freaky. We don't judge. It helps us with the algorithm. So please, thank you so much. And if you happen to be listening to us in podcast form and you have the opportunity to give us stars and reviews, please do That also helps us with the algorithm. If you would like to help us in other ways, kids and cubs, as we are arriving at the end of the month and rent is due here at the Beaver Lodge. I'm kidding. But we're at the end of the month. If you would like to help us with a donation to the Eager Beaver Lodge Emergency Hydration Fund, which we use to ensure that we keep the beaver population moist, well, you can do so right there by scanning that QR code that just appeared, or by going to our coffee page. That's coffee, spelled ko-fi.com/eagerbeaver, all in one word. Offer Mr. Grizzly a cup of dark coffee, or me a lovely mug of hot chocolate. Say, atta Beaver, atta Grizzly, you've done really well this month. We would appreciate the warm thoughts and the warm sensation in our tummies from that gratitude, and of course, the hot chocolate and hot coffee. So if you think that we deserve a little tip, that we've shaked it enough for you this month, well then, a little contribution to the Emergency Hydration Fund would be definitely welcome and appreciated. Thank you so much for all that you do. Now, if you're not able to contribute financially, remember the gifts of your attention and participation are the ones that matter the most to us, so you need not to worry. You got to write to us. truenortheagerbeaver@gmail.com is our email address. Let us know what you think of the show, good, bad, or ugly. We want to hear your thoughts. Be kind, though, if it's ugly. We're into constructive, but be kind. Please. Thank you. We're sensitive creatures. If you have guest suggestions, anything of the sort, or if you have questions for our Q&A show that we would like to do, you would like to know more about politics, certain issues, certain topics, maybe topics we don't talk about a lot, and you're just wondering what our thoughts or what our takes are, or about how the show operates, hey, we welcome them. Thank you so much. And if you would like to write to us on our socials, at TrueEager, at the Blue Sky Beaver Lodge, at TrueEager on the Jitter, True North Eager Beaver on Facebook, which is our original home on the web, or right here on our YouTube channel, whether you're watching live with the Dan Fam or later, boom, leave your comments. And we read them all, even though we're not able to answer everyone. Your comments and your donations all go back into the show. And remember, if you're buying Canadian and you would like to make a contribution, well then, a direct bank-to-bank transfer using our email address, truenortheagerbeaver@gmail.com, ensures that your transaction stays 100% Canadian, and as a bonus, we get 100% of your donation. No CE Tech Bro from the United States comes and takes a cut. So thank you so very much for all of your support, whether it is your retweeting with words of your own, giving us stars, giving us reviews, sharing our content, contribution, either in terms of suggestions or Q&A, all the stuff that you do, kids and cubs, all of it matters, helps us immensely, and we are grateful for all of it. So thank you. Because democracy is something that you do, kids and cubs, remember the petition that we had for you. Please, if you have a moment, do go and sign it. It's really, really important, because we want to make sure that what we have in our elected representatives are actually doing right by us at the most amount of time. So I'm going to put it back up there for you, kids and cubs, so that you can take a note, please. There. Remember also, Athana Metsalopoulos is, if you're living in Alberta specifically, but anywhere throughout Canada, and you want to make sure that there is some sunlight brought to what's going on there, saveathana.com. So save, S-A-V-E, Athana, A-T-H-A-N-A.com is where you can contribute to the Legal Defense Fund there. And remember, of course, letters to your MPs with regard to respecting Indigenous rights in Ontario for Bill 5. It seems that Doug Ford has decided that he's going to write a little thing in there saying that we will respect Indigenous rights, but it's like, it doesn't matter if he writes it in, really, because the Supreme Court of Canada will make sure that he does it. So that's number one. But number two is, if you are now making exceptions for Indigenous people in terms of respecting their rights, as you should, why are you creating these lawless economic zones in the first place? Because the rest of us have rights too. So this is just stupid. It's a stupid policy. You need to make some noise about that, right? In Alberta, separatism, UCP scandal, all of that, there's some letters to write there too. So pen to paper, kids and cubs, and do your best for democracy. And of course, writing Ottawa and not only signing the petition, but making a request that maybe the government make it law that leaders of the opposition, leaders of all parties, must get their security clearance, and that Canadian media should be owned and operated by Canadians so that it produces news by Canadians and for Canadians. So lots of things that we can do for democracy over the next couple of days. So please do get involved. And remember as well, if you're in Alberta, 3 by-elections coming up. So there's a good opportunity to get involved with some campaigns there. If you have a preferred candidate, make sure you research them well, however. Okay? And once again, if you are in Alberta, Manitoba, and Saskatchewan, and because of the wildfires, if there's evacuation orders coming, or if you live in an area where there might be some soon, please do prepare your get out bag and have it next to the door with your important documents, medications, all that kind of stuff, enough water and food for 3 days, all that stuff. Make sure that you have it. You might even want some candles and some matches and the light or whatnot, in case, I know we're in the summer, but in case you're someplace that's a little cool at night and you're maybe still stuck in your car and you need to generate a little heat, all that kind of stuff. Just make sure that you have the things that are important and that you're able to go at a moment's notice, because, as we've heard in those stories, sometimes you'll just get an hour's notice and you got to be gone, and you don't want to forget something very important. So do that when you have a calm head and you're not in a panic, to make sure that you got absolutely everything. Okay. See. Wisdom. Well, that's my words of wisdom too, actually, for the day. Make sure that you are well prepared in case of an emergency. And remember again, if you are not in an immediately affected area, but an area that could be, and you have the ability to clean some debris 30 feet around your home, do take some time to do that. It might be the difference between having a home to come back to and not. Okay. Kids and cubs, can be a tough world out there. So please be kind to and gentle with yourself. And now, kids and cubs, on the count of 3, may I please have a little audience participation in the form of Mr. Beaver. Please cue the cock in 1, 2, 3. Ah, estupendo, magnifico, so melodious. Here you go. You are listening to a True North Eager Beaver Media Incorporated podcast. The True North Eager Beaver podcasts are proudly brought to you by our founding sponsors, the Misfit Mysteries from Corvid Moon Publishing, your source for science fiction, fantasy, and cozy mysteries featuring a broad diversity of characters, CanadianTarot.com, their uniquely Canadian online eclectic tarot community, and the Peppermaster, hot pepper sauces made from farm-fresh ingredients to thrill your taste buds and expand your mind. We are grateful to the Crier Media Network for its support, Pete Jarvis for our artwork, and Paul Joseph Something for our opening and closing sequence music. Kids and Gubs, I was just taking a look at the weather. It's actually warmer in Yellowknife right now than it is here in Kingston. Insane. One last Canadian who makes us proud to talk to you about before we go. A lady named Stephanie Case did something that's absolutely phenomenal. On the show, I like to joke that Canada is the land where the women are strong and the men are pretty. This lady actually proves that that might actually be the case. Stephanie Case placed first in the Ultra Trail Snowdonia in Wales, which is a 100-kilometer ultramarathon, while stopping not once, not twice, but 3 times to breastfeed her baby along the way, while she was 6 months postpartum. Yeah. Absolutely phenomenal. Phenomenal. On May 17th, she placed first among women with a time of 16 hours, 53 minutes, and 22 seconds and made headlines around the world for the viral race photos where she's breastfeeding her 6-month-old daughter, Pepper. After taking the last 3 years off from racing and starting 30 minutes behind the elite runners, Kay said she shocked even herself with the winning chip time. Quote, I couldn't believe it. I think I had to ask the race organizers about 10 times. Case 42, who was born in Kingston, Ontario, told CBC News from France. Quote, once I crossed the line and they did the calculations, they had to ask me to go back and finish again for the camera so that I could run through the tape. It was such a surprise. Oh my God. Here you have a picture of her here in the story, refueling while eating some watermelon, holding her baby. And the baby is breastfeeding. I mean, this is okay. Running a 100-kilometer ultramarathon is already pushing stuff to the extreme. Fueling up yourself while you're fueling up your in the middle of the ultramarathon is a whole other level. So she's a long-time ultra runner. She had originally considered the Ultra Trail Snowdonia her practice race in the lead up to the Hard Rock 100 Endurance Run, which is an approximately 100-mile or 161-kilometer high-altitude race in Colorado in July. She goes, I wanted a chance to shake off the cobwebs. I also wanted to see how Pepper would do in a race that was only about half the time commitment as Hard Rock. At 17 hours, it was still the longest I'd been away from Pepper, though. Aww. So yeah, just it's an amazing story. And there's a whole lot more to it in the profile. So Kits and Cubs, if you would like to go and read that, I highly encourage you to do it. It is called, again, the story, just so you can find it. Canadian wins 100-kilometer ultramarathon while stopping to breastfeed her baby along the way. Canadian women, man, you don't mess with them. They mean business. They come to play. They come to compete. They don't mess around. And it doesn't matter what obstacle you throw in their way at all. They will overcome it and achieve incredible success in the process. So, Kits and Cubs, I am giving 2 paws up to Miss Case, or Mrs. Case, maybe. Who knows? And Pepper from being such a good baby. And there you go, Kits and Cubs. Just put it there in the chat for you with a tiny URL that will allow you to go there and read the story yourself. That's all for me for today. Have a beaverific day, everyone, and we'll see you again tomorrow. And remember, again, June 14th, Mental Health Walk. If you want to participate in Ottawa, please do. Or if you just want to go on the walk, go for a walk, a 5K walk with a friend of yours in your own community, do so. Please let us know that you're doing it. Take some pictures of yourself on the walk. You don't have to take pictures of your friend if you don't want to. Again, confidential and all that kind of stuff. But take some pictures, show yourself on the walk. And as you know, this is not primarily a fundraiser. However, if you would like to make it, do a little bit there. If you make a donation either to the Canadian Mental Health Association or any organization in your community, do let us know what it is. And send us a charity receipt, because we like to keep the accounting of how much the Kits and Cubs and the Dam Fam is raised, so that we can use that in promotional materials to try and grow the event for following years. And if you would like to support one of our 2-member organizations, the Lonely Man Club, the Lonely Man Project in Newfoundland, which is seeking to build a resource center for men who are struggling with depression, or the Men of the North program in La Ronge, Saskatchewan, an Indigenous-led program that helps men discuss feelings and resolve things. We would happily accept your donations at truenortheagerbeaver@gmail.com. Mark them as donations to the causes. And if you want to give them to one specific one, let us know. If you want to separate them equally between 2, you don't need to specify anything. We'll do that automatically. And we will be able to get the funds to our our beneficiary organizations. This year, of course, is going to be a little smaller given that I'm a little hobbled and we had 8 elections. It will not grow as much as we had wanted to from last year, but we are still doing the walk this year. And hopefully next year, our plans that we had for this year to make the walk grow a little more will be able to be in place. But we do thank you for your support and encouragement, and we hope to see you on the 14th, either in your home communities or in Ottawa, joining us for our walk. Until then, till we see each other tomorrow, be lovely. All right. Thank you. And I am off like magic. I'm gone.